Chapter 372. Back then, when Lin Yuan found out that the other party wanted to destroy the northern frontier, the first thing he suspected was the surviving members of the Jiao clan who had almost gone crazy. Fortunately, Lin Yuan was not an arbitrary and rash person. After detaining these people who were responsible for this operation, there was indeed a different harvest. The Ether Society's method of slandering was quite brilliant. If they had really succeeded, the surviving members of the Jiao clan would not be able to defend themselves. However, the upper echelons of the Ether Society probably did not expect that before their plan had officially started, it had already been foiled by Lin Yuan, who had sensed that something was wrong. Even a large group of people who carried out the operation had been killed or injured. Those who were still alive were all locked up in these few dark prison cells where they could not see the light of day. It was hard to say if the Ether Society would do anything else after this. After all, the northern frontier now had a real name system. Everyone who entered the northern frontier would be given a card with their name and serial number, representing their legal identity in the northern frontier. In order to receive this card, information such as name, place of birth, number of family members and so on had to be checked by the official in charge of the northern frontier. After that, the Demonic Emperors Association would naturally monitor the new people who entered the northern frontier. Only after the other comrades had found a way to verify the new people's identity would the monitoring be slightly relaxed. For the Demonic Emperors Association was now like a sleepless eye, staring fixedly at the movements of the northern frontier. Of course, not to mention these new refugees who wanted to stir up trouble, even the natives of the northern frontier who had lived in the northern frontier for many years and knew each other well did not gain the complete trust of the Demonic Emperors Association. Every few days, they would compile a person's recent actions and carefully consider whether they could be a spy. Although this method consumed a lot of manpower and resources, for a new organization like the Demonic Emperors Association, it was the only method they could use to screen out the identities of spies. It was not that Lin Yuan had ordered them to do this. It was just that the members of the Demonic Emperors Association were very clear that the reason they could become a first-rate organization in the northern frontier that had replaced the Demon Slayer Guild in the northern frontier while under the shadow of the shadows was all because of Lin Yuan's significance to the northern frontier. If Lin Yuan were to fall from power, they would quickly become a target of scorn, and it would be extremely difficult for them to make a comeback. Therefore, even if Lin Yuan did not instruct them to do many things, the Demonic Emperors Association would still carry out their tasks willingly. Therefore, the secret agents of the various major factions all hated the Demonic Emperors Association to death, but none of them could come up with a plan to avoid the attention of the Demonic Emperors Association. This was the reason why the members of the Ether Society could survive until today. If it was not for the fact that the members of the Ether Society could not enter at all, or that they could not cause any trouble even if they entered, from the style of the Ether Society, as long as these losers existed, the possibility of them leaking the secrets of the Ether Society would be greater. Therefore, they would have long sent assassins to silence them. Lin Yuan was silent for a moment, and then suddenly said, "The information you gave is very interesting, but before I think of a way to determine whether it is true or not, you still won't have any special privileges. You won't even be able to leave this cell for a short period of time to take a breather. You should be able to guess that I am doing this to protect your personal safety. I believe you can understand. However, the things you have told me are only slightly interesting. It is enough to protect your life, but as for the rest..." Haha. Lin Yuan's words were like a bucket of cold water being poured over his head. After drinking a mouthful of water, and finally finding a target to talk to, the young lieutenant's face, which had recovered a bit of color, was once again ghastly pale. There was almost no color in his face. The last trace of hope in his heart was dispelled. Although he spoke a lot, the caution in his bones still existed. Other than implicating the existence of the Ether Society, almost everything he said was things that Lin Yuan already knew. This black snake was indeed not an ordinary demonic beast. It was not so easy to fool, the young lieutenant sighed inwardly. He looked at the black snake who was about to get up and leave. He hesitated for a moment before opening his mouth and bellowing, "I'm just a member of the Ether Association. Although my status isn't low, I'm not much better than those bandit leaders who are scattered around. Therefore, I don't know much about confidential information." Lin Yuan, who had just turned around, stopped. A hint of cunning flashed through his heterochromatic eyes. He wanted to use a little work in information that was already known in exchange for freedom. Did he really think he was an idiot? The Ether Society is not thinking of occupying the northern frontier on a whim. According to what I know, the higher-ups of the Ether Society have already contacted a rather large clan in the Hengduan Mountains. Once you are dealt with, this clan will quickly accept the territory you left behind. Other than not necessarily being recognized by the Shenwu dynasty, they can guarantee that the northern frontier will be the same as the northern frontier in the future. I do not know what kind of existence this demonic beast clan is. With my authority, I do not have the right to look into it. However, I know who knows the specific information. Give me a chance, I can help you scrape him out. The young lieutenant roared at the top of his lungs. His originally pale face flushed red. Although he had been locked up in a sealed cell during this period of time, for someone as young as him to be able to have a place in the Ether Society, he was naturally not an ordinary person. Even if he had not seen it with his own eyes, he was certain that the northern frontier had entered a stage of rapid development. Today, he was the first to speak. Regardless of whether Lin Yuan was free or not, he had to come and take a look. However, if he were to miss this opportunity, he did not know when he would be able to see Lin Yuan again. Are you sure that the person you're looking for is still at the northern frontier? Lin Yuan stopped in his tracks and turned his head to look at the young lieutenant. The young lieutenant shook his head dejectedly and said, "This is the habit of the Ether Society. Before the operation is carried out, they will definitely arrange for a member of the upper echelon to hide near the mission location. The role of this member of the upper echelon is to survey the entire situation and report the steps of us, the frontline operatives, to the Ether Society at any time. He will also discuss with the other members of the upper echelon and constantly modify and supplement our plans." At this point, he muttered somewhat unconfidently, "I don't know him. It's just that I know what he looks like by chance. Furthermore, I only know that such a person exists. It's unknown whether he's still living in the same place as before or whether he's already left the northern frontier. I can only say that I'll try my best to find him." Lin Yuan muttered to himself for a moment. His heterochromatic eyes flashed with a thoughtful look. He lowered his voice and said, "I don't know what you're planning, but I'll only give you this one chance. If you play any tricks with me, I can guarantee that your end will be much more miserable than it is now." Chapter 373. Almost all the sects in the northern frontier had been wiped out. Only the sect of the Blood Divine, the Waning Moon House, and the Green Lotus Sword sect, which had Kongming realm cultivators in charge, had not been troubled by the northern frontier guard army. However, these so-called three sects were also worried about Lin Yuan, who had suddenly shed all pretense of cordiality. He even dared to provoke the Freedom Courtyard, which had 3 Kongming realm cultivators in charge. Did that black snake really put them in his eyes? Before the representatives of the 3 sects could come up with a plan, a few pieces of news that shook the northern frontier were released from the northern frontier prince's mansion. Immediately, the Kongming realm cultivators of the 3 sects were stunned. Lei Fan, the king of the northern frontier, who had previously swept through the sects in the northern frontier with bloody means, was rumored to have contracted a strange disease. All the famous doctors in the northern frontier were unable to cure him, and he unfortunately passed away in the early hours of this morning. Because Lei Fan did not have any children, the northern frontier king's position was taken over by Hu Yen, who had originally assisted Lei Fan in implementing the new policies in the northern frontier. Regarding this, the Shenwu dynasty did not have any objections. In order to stabilize the situation in the northern frontier, not only did they redraft the imperial edict according to the wishes of the internal departments of the northern frontier, they even specially sent a lot of money to reward the new king of the northern frontier. Compared to the turmoil in other areas, the entire northern frontier prince's mansion appeared to be calm. The remaining 5 city lords who originally had the strength and qualifications to compete for the throne all maintained their silence, as if they did not have any objections to the sudden change of their superior. Very quickly, someone understood. Ever since Lei Fan ascended the throne of the northern frontier, he had always been Lin Yuan's chess piece. The entire operation of the northern frontier depended on Lin Yuan's mood. Furthermore, Lin Yuan had entered the secret realm and was besieged by the cultivators of various sections. This undoubtedly gave Lei Fan the hope of replacing Lin Yuan. Hence, under the circumstances where he had not ascertained whether Lin Yuan was dead or alive, Lei Fan had taken over the command of the northern frontier without any hesitation. Furthermore, he had ignored Lin Yuan's earlier preparations and directly started a war with the sections. Through such means, not only had he reduced the influence of the sects in the northern frontier prince's mansion, he had even found an excuse to purge a large number of people who did not agree with Lei Fan's political views within the northern frontier prince's mansion. The current situation was going well, but Lin Yuan had exceeded everyone's expectations. He had actually survived the besiegement of several Heaven Realm experts and had even become the final victor of the battle in the secret realm. After returning to the northern frontier, the first thing Lin Yuan did was to utilize the power of the aristocratic families and the Demon Emperor's Association to fix some of the loopholes in Lei Fan's plan. Furthermore, he had also swiftly pulled out the disobedient puppet Lei Fan. The cause and effect of the change in ownership of the northern frontier prince's mansion was quickly understood by everyone. It was only at this moment that the leaders of the three great sects could finally heave a sigh of relief. After all, although Lei Fan's previous outburst had seemed fierce, but in their eyes, he was more or less a clown. If not for Lin Yuan and the aristocratic families entering the fray, the final result would be Lei Fan purging all the sects below the second rate. Not only would this not cause the sects in the northern frontier prince's mansion to be completely defeated, the various sects in the northern frontier prince's mansion would be able to quickly swallow up the losers and raise their own strength to a higher level. Furthermore, the various sects would even raise their vigilance and unite to resist the northern frontier prince's mansion. Putting aside Lei Fan, the loser. The more important news was, Lin Yuan was going to expand the army. The expansion of the Northern Frontier Guard Army due to the increase in the number of human settlements in the northern frontier was not a surprise to anyone. Although the quota of 400,000 seemed to be quite a lot, but in actual fact, they were spread out among the various settlements in the northern frontier. Once a battle broke out in a certain area, the expanded Northern Frontier Guard Army would immediately fall into a predicament of insufficient manpower. What really attracted everyone's attention was the newly established Southern Expedition Army. With a quota of 3 million, even if they were all new recruits who had never been to the battlefield before, after a little bit of training, they would become a force that would not lose out to the Xiongwu army. What was more important was the name of this army. This black snake still could not hold back and was going to make a move against the south. However, this matter was obviously not within the consideration of Lei Qiusheng, Zhang Xiu, and the others. After all, the Southern Frontier Army had just begun to prepare. And according to the information that the embroidered uniform guard had sent over from the northern frontier, the recruitment of the Southern Expedition Army was extremely slow. It was obvious that they did not plan to use it in the near future. Lin Yuan had not even conquered the northern frontier yet. If they rashly pushed the battle line to other areas in the south, perhaps Lin Yuan would not even be able to protect the northern frontier. In addition, the northern frontier was still under construction and needed a large amount of labor. If they recruited all the young and middle-aged men into the army, it would be tantamount to going against Lin Yuan's original intentions. Moreover, the northern frontier attracted refugees because there was no war in the northern frontier. Once the flames of war started in the northern frontier, this reformed land would no longer be attractive to those who had lost their homes because of the war. However, after Lin Yuan returned to the northern frontier, most people began to let down their guard against the northern frontier. After all, from their point of view, the northern frontier would definitely be extremely powerful in the future. But now, the northern frontier was like a rundown house. Almost the entire roof was broken. While Lin Yuan was repairing it, he had broken even more tiles. By the time Lin Yuan was ready to conquer the world, the Xinwu dynasty would have already settled its internal and external troubles. At the same time, Xinwu dynasty, inner city of the imperial capital, imperial study. Is this black snake threatening me? Lei Qiusheng swept away the memorials in front of him that seemed to be relaying information about the northern frontier. He leaned weakly on the chair. He was very clear about what Lin Yuan meant by creating a southern expedition in name only. Once he took advantage of the time when the northern frontier prince's mansion and the sects had a falling out to support the sects, or if he personally made some small moves in the northern frontier, this army would quickly condense into the strongest fist in the northern frontier. Then, it would ruthlessly strike the Shinwu dynasty. Your Majesty, the northern frontier's problem is not small, but it is not big either. Zhang Xiu bowed and said in a deep voice, the northern frontier's situation is similar to ours. We have to settle our internal and external troubles. Under the reform, the northern frontier has also made countless enemies. The sects and aristocratic families are all thorns in his side. At this time, if we still want to obstruct each other, the result will only be mutual destruction. Mutual destruction. That black snake has already grown to such an extent? Lei Qiusheng gently chewed on the words, mutual destruction. The smile at the corner of his mouth was somewhat bitter. A trace of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes. He said coldly, haven't the envoys of the Frost Mirror dynasty and the Qingjiang dynasty already entered the imperial capital? Hurry up and arrange for me to meet with them. I want to see how big a piece of meat the old barbarian and the newly ascended brat want to bite off from me. Chapter 374. In the Hengduan Mountains, in the nest that Lin Yuan had chosen at the beginning. The black flood dragon's body was soaked in the lake water, and its head was casually placed on the shore. Lin Yuan's pair of different colored eyes swept across the faces of the people in front of him. He remained silent and did not speak first. Hu Yan represented the northern frontier prince's mansion, Shi Dong represented the association of the demon emperor, Kagura represented the demi-humans, and Xia Siyu represented the sinners. Now that two of the three major forces under Lin Yuan's command had come, Lin Li's faction had also chosen their own representatives. Xia Siyu played with the dagger in his hand and said coldly, although the sects in the northern frontier have relaxed their vigilance, those who are really smart have already begun to transfer their assets and are preparing to move to the south. After all, these major sects will send many disciples to different places to establish subsects every year in order to prevent this day from coming. I personally suggest that we take action against those forces that we can afford to offend as soon as possible. We can't let them escape just like that. I object. Hu Yan glanced at Xia Siyu and said expressionlessly, the sects in the northern frontier are willing to withdraw themselves. This is the best situation for us now. According to reliable sources, the Qingjiang dynasty and the Frost Mirror dynasty have both sent envoys to the imperial capital not long ago. If I'm not wrong, the three dynasties should soon stop fighting and make peace. At this time, if we continue to wear down our own strength, it will be equivalent to giving the Shinwu dynasty a chance to eliminate us. The sinners were a force that had been used and suppressed by the Shinwu dynasty. Once there was a chance to bite the Shinwu dynasty, they would definitely not miss it. The northern frontier prince's mansion represented by Hu Yan used to be officials of the Shinwu dynasty. They were born with a sense of awe towards the Shinwu dynasty. Therefore, the two sides formed two extremes at the beginning of the meeting. You can't say that. Shi Dong looked left and right. Seeing that Kagura had no intention to speak, he could only brace himself and say, the two dynasties have already swallowed a lot of the Shinwu dynasty's territory. The outcome of this peace talk will not be good no matter what. Even if they are willing to return a part of the Shinwu dynasty's territory, they will definitely not let those people go back. This is obviously a result that Lei Qiusheng cannot accept. I think Lei Qiusheng will not agree to the peace talk. At this point, Shi Dong paused. Seeing that Xia Siyu and Hu Yan had no intention to speak, he continued, however, it is true that the Shinwu dynasty is about to walk out of its predicament. The strength of the northern frontier is more than enough to protect itself. However, if there is another massacre like the one led by Lei Fan, we may become the next target of the Shinwu dynasty. Shi Dong's words were completely to smooth things over. He did not want to offend anyone. On one hand, he agreed with Xia Siyu's idea of exterminating the sections. On the other hand, he said that if the northern frontier suffered too many losses, it would attract the Shinwu dynasty's attack. The fox girl Kagura moved her furry ears and said lazily, what's the use of saying so much? The final decision is not the demon emperor. If you are arguing here, why don't you think of ways to convince the Demon Emperor to agree with your point of view? As her voice fell, everyone's eyes fell on Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan raised his eyelids and swept his gaze across everyone's faces. He said calmly, "It's a good thing that the sects are willing to leave. We don't have to exterminate them. However, we can't let them go just like that. Hu Yan, bring the Northern Battlefront Army and set up a checkpoint at the northern frontier. If the sects want to leave the northern frontier, they will have to obediently hand over the toll. Otherwise, we will directly suppress them. It's fine even if you are anxious." "Yes." Hu Yan helplessly clasped his hands at Lin Yuan. He didn't want to have any more conflicts with the sections. However, obviously, except for him, no one here wanted to let the sects go just like that. Lin Yuan asked him to take charge of this matter to prevent Xia Siyu from deliberately adding fuel to the fire. If the sects saw that they had no chance to leave safely, they would still have to turn around and fight to the death. "Xia Siyu, don't look so bad. I have other things for you to do. Go gather your men and wait for my order in Shunning City. Once you receive my message, kill them all. Don't worry about where they are or what their background is." Lin Yuan's eyes paused on Xia Siyu for a while. He slightly closed his eyes and continued, "Of course, remember to pay attention to Hu Yan's situation. If the sects want to fight to the death, the Northern Battlefront Army may not be able to come in time. You should be ready to lead your men to fight for me." "Got it." Xia Siyu put the dagger in his sleeve and stood up to bow to Lin Yuan. "As for Kagura, I asked you to contact the nearby demi-human tribes with Shaoan. According to Shaoan's report, there aren't many demi-human tribes that are willing to follow us. Is that right?" After arranging Xia Siyu and Hu Yan, Lin Yuan's eyes fell on Kagura. This fox girl hadn't been in the association of the Shifter Emperor for a long time. However, in the demi-human faction, she quickly suppressed the veteran Shao En and others and became one of the representatives of the demi-human faction. Whether it was strength or means, she was the best. Naturally, Lin Yuan entrusted her with important tasks. Kagura slightly nodded. Her gentle face showed a touch of seriousness. She said, "Shifter Emperor, the demi-human tribes used to follow the orders of the Shenwu dynasty. Many of them are related to the remnants of the Jiu family. These two forces don't have a good relationship with us. Therefore, the matter of incorporating the demi-human tribes is progressing slowly. I need more time." "There's no time." Lin Yuan shook his head and sighed. "If I'm not wrong, there will be turmoil in the Hengduan mountain range recently. Even my position in the northern frontier will be threatened. At this time, what I need is a force that can quickly enter the battlefield, not a group of ancestors that I have to carefully serve." Kagura was slightly stunned. However, she soon understood Lin Yuan's meaning. She bowed and said, "Understood. I will do as Shifter Emperor instructed. It's almost time to end the meeting. Sherdong, your task is the easiest, but also the most difficult. I don't care what means you use. Keep a close eye on the progress of the peace talks between the Shenwu dynasty and the two empires. Once they sign the treaty, I want to get first-hand information to adjust the next round of strategic deployment. If there's a problem on your side, it will be difficult for the others to carry out their work." Lin Yuan cleared his throat and finally looked at Sherdong, who was trying to smooth things over. As soon as he finished speaking, everyone stared at Sherdong with dangerous eyes. After all, the speed at which the Shenwu dynasty suppressed the internal strife determined how long they could be arrogant. Therefore, Sherdong's information must not be wrong. Chapter 375. After the representatives of the various factions left, Lin Yuan climbed out of the lake, shook off the water on his body, and said, "You've been watching from the side for so long. Do you have something to say to me?" Flames surged, and Zhou Xian's figure slowly appeared in Lin Yuan's line of sight. After a while, Zhou Xian took a deep breath with an intoxicated expression. He smiled and said, "Kid, you are really capable. This is obviously the Hengduan mountain range's monster forest with the weakest spirit qi. You actually found such a treasure land with rich spirit qi in the depths of the Hengduan mountain range. Lin Yuan's mouth twitched, but he didn't reply. The green leaf water lotus was a sacred flower that could allow people to ascend to the heavens. Aside from the fact that it took a long time to grow, it also had a rather high requirement for spiritual energy. Unfortunately, the spiritual energy in this area wasn't very dense, so the green leaf water lotus consciously gathered the surrounding spiritual energy during its growth. This was why the spiritual energy in this area was abnormally dense. If the green leaf water lotus continued to grow, the spiritual energy in this area would become even denser, and the demonic beasts that cultivated here would also become stronger. However, the green leaf lotus was still a seed and didn't show any signs. Thus, no one would think that a saint-grade spirit flower was growing here. Even if someone guessed that there was a saint-grade spirit flower here, they wouldn't be able to find it. That demonic beast from the West Sea Dragon Palace is still at the northern frontier, but my attitude is still the same. If you want to trick it to help you pick the purgatory heart, then do it yourself. Lin Yuan rolled his eyes, but his tone was abnormally serious. Jiao Xian gently shook her head and said, I already said that the purgatory heart might be important to me, but it's not important to the point where I can't differentiate between priority and priority. Especially now in the Hengduan mountain range, Beast Lord Kirin is frantically purging his subordinates. Even I have to be on edge every day, afraid that my identity will be seen through by Beast Lord Kirin. If I were to take the purgatory heart now, what difference would it be from confessing without being pressed? At this point, Zhu Xian looked meaningfully at Lin Yuan and sneered, otherwise, why do you think I allowed you to do whatever you want in the northern frontier? Lin Yuan was silent for a moment and did not respond. The speed of his growth was obvious to all. In less than a year and a half, if he had transformed into an ordinary monster beast, he might not even have been able to cross the threshold of cultivation. However, he had grown from an ordinary wild beast to a mountain lord monster beast. In terms of cultivation speed, even those legendary divine beast bloodlines were not much better than him. To put it bluntly, I will help you. When you have a certain level of ability, you can help me in return. I won't say that you will make me an existence similar to the 3 Beast Kings after you become the Beast King. I only hope that you won't be ruthless towards me after you become the Beast King. I think you should consider it carefully. After all, the other candidates all have big clans behind them. It's standard for them to have a desolate demon realm presence. Even if they don't have a desolate demon realm presence, they still have a few mountain lords. As for you, your only advantage now is that you have a human force in your hands. However, in the Hengduan mountain range, the human forces can't easily interfere with your fight for the throne. Otherwise, it might cause negative effects. However, with my help, you can at least stand on the same starting line as those candidates from big clans. Jiao Xian sat up and smiled. I'm not forcing you. I just want to negotiate with you. If you don't think that I'm trustworthy, just pretend that I didn't come today. However, since I'm here today, there's no reason for me to come empty-handed. Let me give you a message. I'm all ears. Lin Yuan nodded slightly. The smile on Jiao Xian's face didn't change. She said in a deep voice, because of the benefits you created in the northern frontier, many beasts want to take your place. Even many clans have begun to take action, such as the Green Marsh clan. Chapter 376. Green Swamp Clan. A cold glint flashed in Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes. He and the Green Swamp Clan could be said to be old enemies. Because the flaming red crocodile king died in his hands, and the blood claw that came to deal with him was also dealt with, the hatred between Lin Yuan and the Green Swamp Clan was almost greater than the hatred between him and Zhu Xian. This was because the problem between him and Zhu Xian was nothing more than a matter of scheming and being schemed against, but it could be said that he had a blood feud with the Green Swamp Clan. I have only heard that the Green Swamp Clan has been in frequent contact with a human faction recently. Furthermore, it is convenient for them to mobilize the Fey beasts. The Green Swamp Clan seems to have the intention of increasing their troops to the Stoneclaw Forest. I reckon that even if they are forced by your influence in the northern frontier and cannot touch you, they will still wipe out the Stoneclaw clan and the Fey beasts loyal to you near the Stoneclaw forest and completely cut off your path to becoming a beast king. At that time, no matter how much wealth you have in your hands, you will not be able to obtain Fays directly from the Hungduan mountain range. Whether you can obtain enough Fays will depend on the Green Swamp clan. Even the price you have to pay in exchange for those Fays will be completely up to the Green Swamp clan. Zhu Xian's voice was very calm, as if he was chatting with an irrelevant existence. Lin Yuan's thoughts were also spinning rapidly. Previously, the young lieutenant had said that the Ether Association was planning to replace Lin Yuan in the Fey monopoly business. Then, when he thought about how the Green Swamp clan had been in frequent contact with the human factions recently, Lin Yuan naturally thought of these two opposing factions. They had already joined forces without him knowing, but the other party had not found a chance to make things difficult for him. After all, the entire northern frontier was under the control of Lin Yuan. The sects and forces were in a hurry to move southward. They had no energy to contact the demon beasts in the Hungduan mountain range. Now, instead of taking advantage of Lin Yuan's truce to escape, they still wanted to contact the demon beasts in the Hungduan mountain range to backstab Lin Yuan. Wasn't that just asking for too much? As for the aristocratic families, they might have this motive, but all the Fays they sold were purchased from the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce. Furthermore, the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce would issue an invoice every time they paid for the Fays. The amount of Fays and the types of Fays would be listed clearly. Wherever they went after leaving the northern frontier or entering the Hungduan mountain range, they would be strictly inspected by the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce. Once the amount of goods didn't match, the faction behind the caravan would instantly be blacklisted by the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce. They wouldn't give up their large profits to other aristocratic families just for a little bit of profit. Therefore, only the Ether Society was in contact with the Verdant Marsh clan. Thank you, I understand. Lin Yuan reluctantly squeezed out a smile as he nodded at Zhu Xian. Zhu Xian yawned and lazily said, "You have more schemes in your head than anyone else. Anyway, I have already made my intentions clear and sent you the information. I believe you will have your own way to verify it. I don't have much to do during this period. If you want to contact me, just return to the Stoneclaw forest. I will come and find you." Once again, Lin Yuan watched Zhu Xian leave. The coldness in his heterochromatic eyes almost solidified. It was as if it was going to freeze the scenery in front of him. 1 hour later. Still in Lin Yuan's lair. Na Qin, Batu, Wan Yu, Bai Lu, Jin Gang, and men, who had just returned, were all gathered together. Recently, the Verdant Marsh clan has been creating conflicts and sending reinforcements to the Stoneclaw forest. Why didn't I hear you mention it? Lin Yuan went straight to the point. His gaze fell on his trusted subordinates in the Hungduan mountains. Na Qin and Batu didn't say anything, but Mendu scratched his head and said in a deep voice, "Green Marsh clan? I don't know about this. In the time that you were not here, the Stoneclaw forest was much more peaceful. There were even beast kings coming every day to ask us when the next batch of goods will be sent to the Hungduan mountains. They asked what good things the next batch would have and if they could order more. As for the conflicts." Speaking of this, he glanced at Na Qin and said in a low voice, "Na Qin did not report to me." Na Qin, who had felt that he had become a follower after returning from the Mendu city, casually said, "Lord Beast King, it's not like you don't know that our relationship with the Green Swamp clan has always been bad. The neighboring Beast Kings are mostly subordinates of the Green Swamp clan, and the friction between the two sides has always existed. Even if we deliberately suppress it, the demonic beasts below us will still have a small fight every 3 days and a big fight every 5 days. However, I really don't know about the Verdant Marsh clan sending reinforcements to the Stoneclaw forest. In any case, I don't feel that there has been any change." Wan Yu did not speak. Her eyes flashed from time to time, as if she was thinking about something. Bai Lu shook his fur and said, "The Verdant Marsh clan sending reinforcements to the Stoneclaw forest. I have heard of this matter, but I don't know if it is directed at you." "What do you mean by you don't know if it is directed at us?" Mendu was slightly startled and hurriedly asked. Isn't the Scarlet Flame Swamp about to become the nest of the infernal demonic beasts? The black snake side is not a problem, but the demonic beasts on the other side have been penetrated by the infernal demonic beasts several times. In addition, Beast King Kirin has been purging the Hengduan mountain range of disloyal demonic beasts recently, so the higher-ups did not have time to deal with them. These infernal demonic beasts that rushed out have brought them quite a bit of trouble. Thus, when the Verdant Marsh clan sent reinforcements to the Stoneclaw Forest, it was under the banner of guarding against the infernal demonic beasts. Moreover, the demonic beasts they sent over did not move after entering the Stoneclaw Forest. Thus, I feel that they might really be here to help defend. It is also because the relationship between the two sides is not good that although my demonic beasts were keeping an eye on the Verdant Marsh clan's reinforcements, I didn't immediately tell you. I was worried that you would think that the other side was targeting you. It wouldn't be fun if a fight broke out. Bai Lu replied in a low voice, but his tone suddenly changed and he said, however, the black snake has never spoken without thinking. Since it brought up this matter, then the Verdant Marsh clan's reinforcements must be hiding some unspeakable secret. Sir Beast King, what do you say? Men Du turned his head and looked at Lin Yuan. This was the basic respect for the Beast King. Even though Lin Yuan's focus was on the northern frontier and Men Du was in charge of all matters in the Stoneclaw Forest, when Lin Yuan was present, Men Du still chose to obediently shut his mouth and wait for Lin Yuan's orders. Chapter 377. Hit it. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes and replied decisively. Lin Yuan had long passed the weakest stage. To the previous him, the Green Swamp clan with 3 desolate demon realm experts was an insurmountable mountain. Even if the other party gave him a resounding slap, he could only rely on Zhu Xian's subordinates to kill Blood Claw. After that, he could only watch as the other party eyed him covetously, unable to do anything. But the current Lin Yuan was different from the Lin Yuan of the past. In this world, there were no eternal enemies or friends, only eternal interests. Controlling the northern frontier's huge human chamber of commerce, Lin Yuan certainly needed the Hengduan mountain range for convenience. But these Hengduan mountain range monsters that were hostile to humans, if not for the huge benefits Lin Yuan brought to them, how could they let the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce's caravans pass through their territory? One must know that when the three-eyed ape was the Stoneclaw Forest's Beast King, even stepping into the periphery of the Hengduan mountain range was a taboo for humans. Therefore, not to mention the unspoken rule of the desolate demon realm experts not acting without permission, even if it was just for the benefits Lin Yuan could create, those monsters lying in the Hengduan mountain range would not sit idly by as they took profits from Lin Yuan. If the 3 desolate demon realm experts were not included, the strength of the Green Swamp clan would be laughable. The selection of a great beast king like Subaru was actually very complicated. Individual strength was indeed important, otherwise, they would not be able to suppress a group of great beast kings in such a huge territory. But the strength of the clan itself could not be weak, because the energy of an individual was extremely limited. It was impossible to take care of every aspect of every territory. Therefore, the young adults of the clan and even branch bloodlines like the Stoneclaw clan had to be evenly distributed to each territory. The fact that the 3 desolate demon realm experts were not selected as great beast kings already showed that the Green Swamp clan looked strong, but in reality, they were strong in appearance but weak in reality. With just our strength, it's not enough, right? Bai Lu narrowed his eyes and poured cold water on Lin Yuan at the right time. It did not deny that Lin Yuan was an excellent lord in all aspects. Even if he did not have the favor of the Beast Lord Kirin, as long as Lin Yuan did not die prematurely, there was still hope for him to become the 4th great Beast Lord in the Hengduan Mountains. However, which of the emperors, kings, generals, and ministers from ancient times to the present wasn't a mighty lord of a generation? These mighty lords had a large number of aides and strategists gathered around them. It wasn't just because they were good at something, but more so because they would remind their lords when they made a wrong decision. If everyone was wrong, they would take the initiative to stand out and take the blame, not letting their lords leave a stain in the annals of history. As Lin Yuan's unannounced blood oath brother, Bai Lu was not lowly to the point of taking the blame for Lin Yuan. However, Bai Lu was obviously worried that Lin Yuan was too arrogant. Although the sects in the northern frontier had decided to temporarily avoid the sharp edge and not bicker with Lin Yuan, that was because they were afraid that if they broke the rules, the flustered and exasperated Lin Yuan would invite the desolate demon realm monsters that had been entrenched in the Hengduan Mountains for many years to become enemies with them. If they lost their foundation in the northern frontier, how would they have the confidence to challenge the monsters in the Hengduan Mountains? Lin Yuan was now relying on his control of the northern frontier and the caravan, which gave him a lot of authority in the Hengduan Mountains. However, looking at it from another perspective, the current Lin Yuan really did not have the power to protect this authority. Therefore, there were many monsters that coveted his foundation in the northern frontier. If a fight really broke out, it was still unknown which side those monsters would stand on. Hit it. Lin Yuan repeated it again, and there was a hint of displeasure between his eyebrows. Wan Yu pondered for a moment, then suddenly smiled and said in a clear voice, "I'll go gather the monsters that can fight." The Green Marsh clan relied on the 3 desolate demon realm experts to take over the territory near the Stoneclaw Forest. It's time to teach them a lesson. Ta, 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 just as Wan Yu's voice fell, a series of thunderous footsteps followed closely behind. Hundreds, thousands, close to 10,000, more and more humanoid creatures wearing bright armor and holding all kinds of sharp weapons and crossbows gathered here. Although they had human-like bodies and 4 limbs, these humanoid creatures more or less carried the shadow of a monster. Whether it was in the human camp or the monster camp, the demi-humans were not very well received. However, in the prelude to the war Lin Yuan was about to start, they could play a decisive role in determining victory. This was because even if Lin Yuan was in charge of the northern frontier, the monsters in the Hengduan Mountains would not agree to the humans interfering in the internal disputes of the Hengduan Mountains. And with the current strength of the Stoneclaw clan, even with the help of Bai Lu and Jin Gang, they still did not have the qualifications to directly challenge the Green Marsh clan. However, the demi-humans, who had the blood of monster beasts flowing in their veins, could participate in this war. Although they did not have the strong physique and special abilities of the monster beasts, their ancestral bloodline still gave them a lot of advantages. For example, Shaoan's stealth and archery were a domain that countless humans could not reach in their lifetime. Moreover, the demi-humans could be equipped with human armor and weapons. As long as there were enough of them, they would undoubtedly be more terrifying than a simple human or monster beast. Not to mention the fact that the demi-humans did not live long and most of them had low intelligence. In terms of fighting strength, the demi-humans could definitely threaten any force. This was not only seen by Lin Yuan, the monster beasts and humans also saw the huge potential of the demi-humans. This was the main reason why they jointly excluded the demi-humans. After all, the monster beasts and humans were already locked in a fierce battle. No one was willing to see a third race that was independent of both sides rise again. We pay our respects to Sir Monster Emperor. A group of demi-human warriors knelt down on one knee in front of Lin Yuan, their momentum shaking the sky. Kagura walked out of the demi-human army and walked in front of Lin Yuan with light steps. She smiled and said, "According to Sir Monster Emperor's order." After this subordinate led the northern army and destroyed several demi-human tribes that were determined to not submit to us, they quickly bowed their heads. This is the first batch. Shaoan is still reorganizing the tribes. Next, the demi-human tribes living near the northern frontier will continue to provide elite warriors for Sir Monster Emperor. The worship in Kagura's eyes almost condensed into a solid substance. After all, in her opinion, Lin Yuan's previous suggestion was tantamount to shooting himself in the foot. Once the news of the destruction of the demi-human tribe spread, not only would it arouse public anger, but even the demi-human tribes that had now surrendered to Lin Yuan might also join in the rebellion against Lin Yuan. However, Kagura was very clear about her identity, so she did not oppose Lin Yuan like Bai Lu did. Instead, she meticulously began to implement Lin Yuan's plan. Chapter 378. In fact, subduing the demi-human tribes was just a simple application of psychology. Before Lin Yuan took control of the northern frontier, these demi-humans did not have a good life. Even Xiao En, who was extremely skilled in stealth and archery, was used as cannon fodder by Zhanshan City. Now that the northern frontier had changed hands, some of the demi-humans wanted to establish themselves and become the force that controlled lightning in the northern frontier. However, under the joint suppression of humans and demon beasts, the demi-human tribe's hot-bloodedness and arrogance had long dissipated. They ran across this land day and night for nothing more than survival. When Lin Yuan was amiable, they could coldly demand sovereignty. However, when Lin Yuan removed the rain and brought down the lightning, these demi-human tribes, who had long been accustomed to lowering their heads for survival, naturally would not fight to the death with Lin Yuan. Go and gather the warriors. There's no need for a battle plan. Intrude into the territory of the Green Marsh clan, kill. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes bloomed with a cold light. As soon as his voice fell, his body had already shot out, followed by tens of thousands of demi-human warriors. Lin Yuan did not care that someone was scheming against him behind his back. Only a mediocre person would not be envied by others. Since he had taken control of the northern region, he had the power and wealth that others did not even dare to think about. Naturally, he had to bear this responsibility and show that he had the strength to protect this power. The existence of the desolate demon realm could not take action, so what Lin Yuan had to do next was to kill. He had to kill until all the demon beasts in the Hengduan mountain range feared him. In this way, before he stepped into the desolate demon realm, he could save a lot of trouble. The sun was setting in the west, and the bright moon was gradually rising. The Hengduan mountain range, which was supposed to be peaceful, was now filled with the sounds of killing. With the Stoneclaw forest as the center, a semicircle spread out, and almost everywhere was a battlefield. At first, it was the demi-humans fighting the demon beasts under the Green Marsh clan. Later, although the nearby beast kings did not say anything, they all mixed into Lin Yuan's team and began to besiege the Green Marsh clan's demon beasts. During this time, the Green Marsh clan's beast kings relied on their background to make the nearby beast kings suffer. Especially after Lin Yuan took control of the northern frontier, the Green Marsh clan did not dare to touch Lin Yuan's whiskers and began to vent their anger on the nearby beast kings. Demonic beasts died one after another, but not a single corpse could be seen on the ground. After all, these dead demonic beasts could be easily exchanged for spirit items that they couldn't normally obtain in the northern region's black market. Therefore, while these beast kings were crazily killing, they didn't forget to send a group of demonic beasts to pick up the demonic beasts' corpses like farmers during an autumn harvest. Unlike Lin Yuan's sudden and irresistible attack, the Green Marsh clan side was completely stunned. During this time, they had consciously increased their troops near the Stoneclaw forest. The smarter demon beasts could see that the higher-ups were going to attack the Black Snake. However, before they could receive orders from the higher-ups, the Black Snake side suddenly attacked. Even the nearby beast kings spontaneously joined the battle. For a moment, they did not even know whether to advance or retreat. If they did not fight the Black Snake's subordinates, they would lose their territory and be held accountable by the Green Marsh clan. However, if they fought the Black Snake, they did not have much confidence in winning. Secondly, they did not know whether the higher-ups were prepared to have a falling out with the Black Snake. Therefore, they could only fight and retreat, maintaining their battle line while waiting for the Green Marsh clan's orders. But the problem was, it was better if they did not retreat. With this retreat, more and more beast kings no longer watched and joined Lin Yuan's side in the battle. To put it bluntly, the Green Marsh clan was nothing. If it were not for the 3 desolate demon realm demon beasts guarding them, they would only be a group of large lizards rolling around in the swamp. However, with Lin Yuan's current status in the Hengduan mountain range, he was no different from a god of wealth. Especially after opening a trade with the humans, they could even obtain spiritual items from Lin Yuan that were not produced in their region. There was still a distance between the Stoneclaw forest and the Green Marsh clan's territory. When the news of the battle near the Stoneclaw forest reached the grassy swamp, the beast kings under their command had already been completely routed. The 3 leaders of the grassy swamp clan had gloomy expressions on their faces when they heard the news of the battle near Stoneclaw forest. Third leader He Shi, who had the worst temper, used his claws to crush a stone table and coldly said, "This Black Snake has never placed our Green Marsh clan in his eyes. Big brother, what are you waiting for? Let our men make a trip to the Stoneclaw Forest and capture this reckless black snake for us to deal with. The news of Lin Yuan breaking through to the Mountain Lord realm was actually only known to the cultivators in the northern frontier. Even the Stony clan had only just learned of this news, let alone the Green Marsh clan who had never taken Lin Yuan seriously. Therefore, in their eyes, Lin Yuan, a mere intelligence realm black snake, dared to provoke their Green Marsh clan. This was the same as pressing their face to the ground and stomping on the ground. Second leader Du Qi narrowed his eyes and said, "Third brother, don't be so rash. You should know that this black snake is now the face of the Hengduan mountain range. If black snake is gone, it won't be as easy as you think for us Yao beasts to control the northern frontier." Wasn't it difficult? Why would the six empires allow Lin Yuan to control the northern frontier? This was because Lin Yuan had done a very good job of keeping up appearances. Although Lin Yuan was the actual ruler of the northern frontier, the king of the northern frontier was still a human. Moreover, the main military force of the northern frontier was also human. Even the Yao beasts under Lin Yuan's command wouldn't casually step into the territory of the northern frontier unless they were going to the northern frontier to do business. In addition, the rules of the northern frontier were very strict. Whether it was humans, Yao beasts, or demi-humans, once they violated the rules of the northern frontier, they wouldn't have anything good to eat. Therefore, the other six empires were naturally willing to let Lin Yuan control the northern frontier. With this black snake by his side, Lei Qiusheng, the mighty ruler, was like a fishbone stuck in his throat. Whether it was status or race, both sides couldn't be harmonious. Therefore, the more powerful the northern frontier was, the more it would hurt Lei Qiusheng's vitality when he came to settle accounts. This was also the reason why the six empires opened the door to the merchants of the northern frontier, allowing them to do business right under their noses. However, if it was another Yao beast that controlled the northern frontier? Even if Lin Yuan had to die, he would bite off a piece of meat from the other party. When the time came, both sides would suffer great losses. Lei Qiusheng would definitely not let go of this opportunity to regain control of the northern frontier. Even if Lei Qiusheng didn't have the strength to spare, could it be that those aristocratic families and sects near the northern frontier were vegetarians? Taking a step back, the northern frontier's laws were there. Lin Yuan didn't have his own clan and was all alone. Of course, he could strictly enforce the laws. However, could the other Yao beasts with huge clans do the same? Chapter 379. It would be good enough if the leaders of these clans didn't do anything, let alone their descendants. Plus, the Northern Frontier King's Palace and the Shifter Emperor's Association were all on Lin Yuan's side. If any other Shifter clan wanted to control the Northern Frontier, they would be the first to disagree. When the time comes, the harmonious atmosphere that the humans and the Shifter Emperor worked so hard to build would once again turn into a battlefield of confrontation. If they wanted to control the Northern Frontier, they would first have to cultivate their own forces among the humans. However, the criminals, demi-humans, and rebels had all been won over by Lin Yuan. What else could they do? It was just like what Lin Yuan said to Chen Guanshan. The Shifter Emperor's Association couldn't be replicated. The current situation wouldn't change. However, once the Shifter Emperor's Association was destroyed, no one would sit back and watch a new Shifter Emperor rise. That's right. This black snake is now in control of the northern frontier. Even if we want to replace him, we have to do it slowly. If we kill Black Snake now, we will only lose control of the northern frontier. Not to mention that the Beast Lord Kirin has regained control of the King's Palace. Even the King's Palace that had many factions before wouldn't condone us attacking Black Snake. The great leader Rock Skin nodded. His eyes flashed with a hint of seriousness. As the leader of the Green Swamp clan, Rock Skin's foresight was far better than his two younger brothers. Originally, he wanted to contact some human forces to infiltrate the northern frontier. After gradually gaining control of the northern frontier, he would suddenly launch an attack. At that time, even if Black Snake died in their hands, the northern frontier would still be under the control of the Hengduan mountain range. Naturally, the Shifter Emperor's palace wouldn't stop them from attacking Black Snake. However, now that Lin Yuan suddenly launched an attack, it was like a general landing on a chessboard. Then we're just going to let it go? Black Rock snorted twice and asked in a dissatisfied tone. Poison Centipede smiled and said, "Third, I told you not to be impulsive. If I tell my brother that we're done with this, will you trouble Black Snake in private?" Black Rock crossed his claws in front of his chest and sneered, "Second brother, although our Green Marsh clan wasn't chosen to be a great Beast King candidate, no one can deny the strength of our Green Marsh clan. If we were to be slapped in the face by a wisdom stage ant, how would the demonic beasts of our Green Marsh clan face others in the future?" Du Qiong was silent for a moment, then the smile on his face grew wider as he said in a clear voice, "Third brother is right. With the strength of our Green Swamp clan, even if he isn't the great Beast King in name, Subaru wouldn't be willing to fall out with our Green Swamp clan for a small black snake, right? Big brother, look." The Green Marsh clan was considered a rather powerful clan in the Hengduan mountain range. Even a great Beast King wouldn't easily provoke them if it wasn't necessary. After all, the three desolate demonic stage existences weren't just for show. If they fell out, even if they could win, it wouldn't be worth it. Rockskin stood up from the stone chair and said with a cold gaze, "I'll go to the royal court and ask for an explanation." The Green Marsh clan was a famous clan in the Hengduan mountain range. Their forces were spread throughout the region near the Shenwu dynasty. He didn't believe that a small black snake that had just gained the right to speak in the Hengduan mountain range would be able to make the various factions in the royal court speak up for it and make Subaru take the risk of falling out with the Green Marsh clan. As long as the royal court spoke, the black snake would have to spit out whatever it ate. It would even have to compensate the Green Marsh clan with a generous amount of spirit items. At this moment, Rockskin hadn't set off yet, but he had already begun to draw up a list in his heart. At the same time, he was secretly thinking about where the black snake's bottom line was. That guy was raking in gold every day and had countless spirit items and resources in his hands. If there was a shortage, he would feel bad for himself. On the other side, Lin Yuan stretched his body and watched as King Kong and Gate personally led a team to attack the last territory of the Green Marsh clan near the Stoneclaw Forest. His heterochromatic eyes flashed with ridicule. The surprise attack had given him a total of 8,000 war points. The next time the war treasury refreshed a random item, he wouldn't have to worry about not having enough war points. Curly Moon coiled her snake body and lazily said, "Although you've won this battle, your battle with the Green Swamp clan has just begun. If I'm not wrong, the Green Swamp clan should know that going head-to-head with you won't benefit them, so their next step should be to go to the Monster King Court to demand an explanation." As a Wisdom Realm demonic beast, Curly Moon's intelligence clearly wasn't at this level. Even Bai Lu and King Kong were inferior to Curly Moon in terms of scheming. Otherwise, this guy wouldn't have been able to play around with the desolate demon realm's Moxibustion and seek refuge under Lin Yuan's sect. Let it go. If it turns around and goes head-to-head, I might not be able to defend the territory I took. But if it goes to the royal court, then it's a different matter. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with ridicule. A few beasts with higher intelligence were still beasts. How could they be a match for him when it came to scheming? If the Green Marsh clan went to complain, he naturally had ways to deal with them. What he was afraid of was that the Green Marsh clan's demonic beasts were all hotheads. However, from their fearful appearance, the Green Marsh clan's demonic beasts were still sensible. At the very least, the demonic beast at the helm was sensible. Otherwise, if Lin Yuan's side took the lead to defeat the Green Marsh clan's demonic beasts, the Green Marsh clan's demonic beasts would counterattack before he could even warm up his territory. Then, it would really be an all-out war. If something happened at the northern frontier, Lin Yuan wouldn't be able to deal with it. After all, although the Stoneclaw Forest was impregnable to the point that even the royal court was worried about the Inferno demon beasts, its foundation was still weak. When it came to war, it was a competition of foundation. It was true that Lin Yuan had money and food, but he didn't have many demonic beasts that could fight under his command. If it wasn't for the fact that the nearby Beast Kings were bullied by the Green Marsh clan, Lin Yuan wouldn't have been able to defeat the Beast Kings that the Green Marsh clan placed high hopes on so quickly. Oh. Wan Yu's eyes lit up. She didn't have the slightest trace of laziness from before. She smiled and said, so Sir Demonic Emperor had already calculated this. However, this subordinate is very curious. Where did Sir Demonic Emperor get the confidence that the royal court would ignore the powerful Green Marsh clan and side with us? Wan Yu actually had some countermeasures. Her lazy appearance from before was purposely for Lin Yuan to see. After all, being able to make the Demonic Emperor, who controlled the lightning of the northern frontier, give a speech was undoubtedly a matter of face. Chapter 380. The Green Swamp clan's influence in the Hengduan Mountains wasn't small. Although it wasn't enough to influence the decisions of the royal court, it was still comparable to the Great Beast Kings. As the leader of the Green Swamp clan, Rawhide naturally had the qualifications to attend the royal court meeting. However, monsters didn't like such occasions, so they weren't very enthusiastic about the royal court meeting. Normally, Rawhide wouldn't step into the territory of the royal court unless he encountered something he couldn't handle. Only then would he remember the existence of the monster royal court. Otherwise, wouldn't it be better for him to be a local tyrant? Stepping into the monster royal court today was the first time Rawhide walked out of the Green Swamp in the past 3 years. Although it couldn't be compared to the scale of the human imperial capital, the monster royal court still occupied an area of more than 100,000 li. It supported countless monsters. The most terrifying thing was that all the monsters that lived in the territory of the monster royal court were either experts or their descendants. If the clan didn't have a desolate demon realm expert, they would at least have 7 or 8 mountain lord level monsters. Otherwise, if they weren't in the territory of the monster royal court, they wouldn't have the face to greet other monsters. Under the strange gazes of the monsters, Rawhide slowly stepped onto the mountain path leading to the royal court. The guards he met on the way were basically all mountain lord level monsters. Occasionally, there would be a few desolate demon realm monsters passing through the mountain path. However, when these monsters saw Rawhide, they didn't have a good expression. When he walked into the royal court, Rawhide discovered that today's impromptu meeting, which had been held because of his arrival, wasn't small at all. Any random person present was a leader of a large clan with a territory of over 1,000,000 miles. Existences of the desolate demon realm weren't rare. Even Keiho, Raymond, and Suhiburu, the 3 great beast kings, were present. In the center of the royal court was the beast lord Shilin, who had just emerged from seclusion and directly set off a storm of blood in the Hengduan Mountains. Gulp. Rawhide subconsciously swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Although he was also a monster of the desolate demon realm, on the endless path of the desolate demon realm, he really wasn't considered to be an existence that had walked very far. At most, he was just a little stronger than those newbies who had just entered the desolate demon realm. If they fought, it would be hard to say who would win. It was a little scared of such a big scene. After all, although it was here to lodge a complaint, it was indeed unreasonable. Moreover, their Green Swamp clan had recently been flirting with a human force. To these well-informed great demonic beasts, this was naturally not a secret. If there was a great demonic beast on the black snake side who used this matter to pressure it, it would really peel off a layer of skin. As for the black snake flirting with humans, how could that be the same thing? Lin Yuan was raising his own people, a traitor among the humans. If he were to collude with the human forces, wouldn't he become a traitor among the demonic beasts? Rock Skin, your Green Swamp clan sure is impressive. You've troubled the royal court over such a trivial matter of fighting for territory, and even made us gather here early in the morning to wait for you? Look at what time it is now. Do you think that we're all like you, so bored that we only know how to scheme against each other? The Hondice Wolf King Raymond's territory was close to the Shuangjin dynasty. Usually, he would fight fiercely with those barbarians, and was considered to be the most hot-tempered of the 3 great demonic beast kings. When he saw Rawhide slowly step into the royal court, he was instantly enraged. Rawhide was slightly startled, and even felt a little wronged. Logically speaking, it was a trivial matter for it to compete with the Black Serpent for territory. After all, the change of ownership in the Hengduan Mountains happened countless times every day. If not for the black serpent's complicated background, it would have settled this matter on its own and would not have bothered the palace at all. Therefore, it would never have thought that such a trivial matter would actually alarm so many big shots to attend the meeting. In almost an instant, Rawhide thought of many things. The Honed Ice Wolf King's tone was unfriendly, probably because it did not intend to stand on his side in the first place. Otherwise, it would not have directly picked on him. In addition, not many of these big shots who came to listen in were on good terms with him. At most, they knew each other and were on good terms with each other. They would not rush over to stand up for him just because he was slapped in the face by the black snake. This was probably going to be difficult. Rockskin swallowed his saliva again, and his eyes began to drift. Big Brother Raymond must be joking. Fighting for territory is of course a trivial matter, but it's the Green Swamp clan's territory that's being snatched. This is a huge matter. Who doesn't know about the monsters in the Hungduan Mountains? It has always been the Green Swamp clan who snatches territory from others. When has their territory ever been snatched by others? This little sister has also suffered greatly at the hands of the Green Swamp clan and lost many monsters. Don't you think so, Big Brother Suhiburu? Before Rawhide could reply, the colorful snake Queen Keiho's soft voice had already sounded. Many candidates would be tested by the three great demonic beasts before the new beast lord could be determined. Although Lin Yuan was in the limelight now, if he didn't secretly take care of him, who knew how many great beast kings would choose to eliminate Lin Yuan first? Not to mention half a year, even half a month would be difficult enough. The beast lord, the Qilin, opened his mouth. Even though the three great beast kings had already formed a united front, they still obediently shut their mouths and looked at Rawhide. Their cold eyes flashed with a threatening intent, as if as long as Rawhide had the guts to open his mouth today, they would have a way to make him suffer. Rockskin was terrified. If he knew that Lin Yuan's background was so strong, he wouldn't have acted smart and asked the Beast King court to intervene. Listening to Lao San's words, he directly turned around and attacked Lin Yuan. Even if that black snake didn't die, he would lose a layer of skin. But now, he had attracted the attention of the three great beast kings and a group of great beast kings. Even if he wanted to make a move on Lin Yuan, he would have to think twice. However, he didn't dare to say that this matter was over. After all, Raymond was already quite dissatisfied with him coming to this meeting. If he said that he didn't want to pursue the Black Snake's actions now, not only would he lose face, these great beast kings would also accuse him of fooling around with them. I also don't wish for the Beast King court to intervene in the dispute between me and that black snake. It's just that the black snake didn't even say a word to me and recruited a large number of demi-humans to attack my Green Swamp clan's children. If this matter were to spread, I'm afraid that people would look down on us Yao beasts. It's inevitable that people would say that our Hungduan mountain range is getting worse with each generation. Even the most outstanding beast kings in recent years have to rely on the strength of the demi-humans. Rockskin swallowed a mouthful of saliva and said in a deep voice, "This humble one dares to ask Lord Beast King to make the decision. Let my Green Swamp clan's children compete with that black snake. My Green Swamp clan will send a child who has just entered the Mountain Lord realm to fight it. As long as the black snake accepts the challenge, regardless of the outcome, I will not be bothered about this matter." Just entered the Mountain Lord realm? Are you sure? Subaru, who was a man of few words, revealed a sinister smile and asked Rockskin. Yes. Replying to the Ape King, although the origin of that black snake's bloodline is unknown, it is indeed noble. It imperceptibly exerts a great pressure on my Green Swamp Lizard clan. Therefore, I am not bullying it by sending a Green Swamp Lizard who has just entered the Mountain Lord realm to fight it. Rockskin nodded and became even more certain of his thoughts. Naturally, he wouldn't let the Yao beasts of his clan kill that black snake. After all, with so many big shots watching, if he still didn't know when to back down, then he would simply be making things difficult for himself. However, as long as that black snake accepted the challenge, he would be able to defeat the black snake that had never been defeated since it was born with a combat strength that was one realm higher than the black snake. This could be considered as a setback to the black snake's spirit. As long as he could regain his face, he could slowly settle the matter in the future. As for making the black snake pay a painful price and so on, Rock Skin had already thrown those thoughts to the back of his mind. He wasn't someone who didn't know the difference between life and death. Naturally, he wouldn't insist on fighting to the death with the black snake when the three beast kings had already made their stance clear. Moreover, it was rumored that Beast Lord Kirin favored the black snake. In that case, wouldn't it be child's play for the various factions to join forces to suppress the Green Swamp clan? Just like how Keiho could tolerate the Green Claw clan for the sake of long-term benefits, the Green Swamp clan also had to know when to back down. If they bit randomly like a mad dog, they would be the one getting beaten up in the end. All right. The smile on Subaru's face became even more sinister, but he still nodded heavily. Keiho and Raymond both revealed looks of ridicule in their eyes, as if Rock Skin had made an extremely foolish decision. Beast Lord Kirin pondered for a moment before saying in a deep voice, "A green swamp lizard that just entered the Mountain Lord realm against the black snake. Since this is clan leader Rock Skin's idea, then let's do it this way." Although he wanted to help Lin Yuan suppress his arrogance and let him keep a low profile for a period of time, since Rock Skin had personally spoken, he naturally couldn't say much. Could it be that he had to argue with the three beast kings until his face turned red in anger to suppress Lin Yuan? "Thank you, Lord Beast Lord, thank you, Lord Beast Lord." Rock Skin's face revealed a hint of joy as he repeatedly agreed. Chapter 382. Lord Beast Lord, it's rare for you to make a mistake. Keiho suddenly interjected with a charming smile. According to what I know, that little black snake obtained some sort of opportunity recently. Not only did it break through to the Mountain Lord realm, even its bloodline has advanced. You should call it Black Jiao from now on. Black Jiao? Rock Paper's legs suddenly went soft, and he almost knelt on the ground. His previous words weren't just for show. That black snake's bloodline was indeed of a higher grade than the green swamp lizard's. Moreover, the lizard was a hybrid of a dragon bloodline beast, so there would naturally be a bloodline suppression. However, the black snake's realm was there, so the suppression wasn't obvious. As a mountain lord, it could be said that it was easy to defeat the wisdom black snake. However, if the black snake broke through to the mountain lord realm, and its bloodline had advanced as well, then it would be a different matter altogether. Battles between Yao beasts weren't like battles between humans that paid attention to a certain point. Generally speaking, if Yao beasts didn't fight for territory, they would fight to the death for food to fill their stomachs. Thus, as long as both sides fought, it would be a battle to the death. Based on the black snake style, it wouldn't care about the strength of the Green Swamp clan. Once they clashed, it would be a blessing for their clan members to be defeated by the black snake if they could keep their lives. But when it had already finished explaining the solution, Subaru, that scoundrel, had actually asked it if it was certain. If it were to change its mind now and deny this matter, Subaru would probably tear it apart in the royal court's assembly hall. On the other side, Lin Yuan, who was conversing with Wan Yu, had a sly look in his eyes. He sneered. Friend? Enemy? It's just a relative relationship. My existence is in the way of the Green Marsh clan, so we're enemies. On the other hand, as long as I control the northern region, I can bring great benefits to the beast kings of the Hengduan mountain range, so we're friends. Do you think a friend should help a friend or help a stranger? The three beast kings and a group of big shots stood on Lin Yuan's side, not because they wanted to curry favor with Lin Yuan, and not because their relationship with the Green Marsh clan was bad. It was more because the benefits that Lin Yuan could bring them were not something they could refuse. Indeed, the strength of these demonic beasts was very strong. Any one of them could easily sweep through the northern frontier. However, with the combined pressure of the 7 majestic empires, even a great beast king would not be able to escape unscathed, let alone an ordinary demonic beast. Even if they had reached the desolate demon realm and wanted to increase their cultivation, which of the demonic beasts that could step into the desolate demon realm had not lived for close to 100 years, or even several hundred years? They had no use for the demonic beasts that Lin Yuan sent to the Hengduan mountain range, but their clans and descendants could use them. Even if it was a demonic beast that was difficult to obtain, they could still grit their teeth and pay a certain price to obtain it from Lin Yuan. Ever since Lin Yuan started his business of buying and selling demonic beasts, the cultivation speed of the Hengduan mountain range's demonic beasts had at least doubled. Some demonic beasts that had no hope of breaking through to the Mountain Lord realm or even the desolate demon realm could now see the hope of breaking through. Even if Lin Yuan did not have a good reputation in the Hengduan mountain range. But, what does that matter? As long as Lin Yuan could bring them enough benefits, it would be fine. Brilliant, truly brilliant. Wan Yu praised Lin Yuan with a smile. With her intelligence, she naturally saw that while Lin Yuan was giving away a portion of the benefits, he was also giving the demonic beasts a sufficient warning. The Green Marsh clan's thinking was not wrong. Even if they could not replace Lin Yuan's position in controlling the northern frontier, as long as they could swallow up Lin Yuan's territory in the Hengduan mountain range, when the time came, Lin Yuan would still have to depend on them if he wanted to obtain the demonic beasts. However, Lin Yuan's attitude was also very clear. If you help me, then I'm friends. There's no problem in creating benefits for each other, but if you stand on the opposite side of me, then I'm sorry. At worst, I'll just give up my territory in the Hengduan mountain range and concentrate on managing the northern frontier. When the time comes, everyone will go their separate ways and no one will end up well. In addition, Wan Yu also saw the intensity of the faction struggle in the royal court. Lin Yuan being able to bring benefits was one thing, but in the past few years, the Green Marsh clan's actions of crazily annexing territories and vassal little beast kings had undoubtedly caused the dissatisfaction of those big shots who had the qualifications to participate in the royal court's discussions. Therefore, between Lin Yuan, this new little beast king, and the Green Marsh clan, the big shots would definitely choose to suppress the Green Marsh clan and support Lin Yuan. After all, if the Green Marsh clan continued to grow, they might not be able to suppress the Green Marsh clan. Don't think that Lin Yuan's words were simple. Behind this matter, there was an extremely complicated relationship of benefits. After a long while, Wan Yu suddenly opened her mouth and asked, with the three great beast kings joining hands to protect you, in addition to those big shots who have the qualifications to participate in the royal court's discussions, aren't you afraid that those demon beasts in the Hengduan mountain range who have the qualifications to compete for the position of beast king will all see you as a thorn in their side? Lin Yuan's expression slightly stiffened. The atmosphere suddenly quieted down. After about 3 breaths of time, a big bird with feathers all over its body flashing with green light flew over. Before it landed on the ground, it already opened its mouth and said, "Black Jiao Lin Yuan, you attacked the Green Marsh clan's territory without declaring war. After the royal court's deliberation, we've decided that you are guilty. We'll give you 3 days to quickly come to the Demon Beast Royal Court and accept your punishment." When its voice fell, the big bird also landed beside Lin Yuan and said with a smile, "Little Black Jiao, you have quite the face. To be able to make the 3 great beast kings simultaneously speak out to protect you, but unfortunately, Lord Beast King doesn't intend to let this matter go so easily. He even specially asked Rock Skin to come up with a solution. In the end, Rock Skin actually said that he won't bully you and will send a demon beast who has just entered the Mountain Lord realm to fight with you. I reckon that he still thinks that you are that little wisdom stage black snake from before and wants to use his subordinate demon beast to dampen your spirit and regain some face at the same time." Lin Yuan and Wan Yu looked at each other and both let out a long sigh. They were afraid that the Demon Beast Royal Court would tacitly agree that Lin Yuan wasn't in the wrong and refuse to deal with this matter. In that case, even if this matter wasn't serious, Lin Yuan would still become the target of all the Beast King candidates. Once the competition for the position of Beast King began, as long as Lin Yuan didn't withdraw, those candidates wouldn't let him go. Now that the Demon Beast Royal Court had decided that Lin Yuan was in the wrong and even asked Rock Skin to come up with a solution, to Lin Yuan, this was the best outcome. At least he wouldn't have to worry about going against half of the Hengduan mountain range in the future. Received, I've troubled Lord to make this trip. Lin Yuan gave Wan Yu a look. Wan Yu immediately took out a box of spirit items that she had prepared beforehand and handed it over to the green bird that came to deliver the letter. Chapter 383. 3 days later. Hengduan Mountains, Monster King Court, Black and White Stage. The Black and White Stage was one of the oldest facilities of the Monster King Court. After the majority of monsters were found guilty by the court, they would apply for release through a duel. Once they stepped onto the Black and White Stage, the defendant would engage in a life and death battle with the plaintiff. Regardless of whether they were really wrong or not, the final victor would be justice. Although Lin Yuan wasn't directly detained by the Monster King Court, Rockskin proposed to use a duel to resolve this dispute that it didn't know how to deal with. Thus, the Black and White Stage was a necessary procedure. Lin Yuan stood beside the Black and White Stage. Suhiburu, whose body was covered in golden fur, crossed his arms and said in a deep voice, "Boy, you can be considered the most outstanding new Monster King under my command. In a while, when you get on the Black and White Stage, I will take care of you no matter what. But if you lose my face, I will take care of you later." When standing beside Lin Yuan, Suhiburu didn't have the appearance of a man who cherished his words as if they were gold. Although in terms of bloodline, Lin Yuan should be closer to Keiho, after all, Lin Yuan became a monster king in the Stoneclaw Forest. Moreover, he was recognized by the Stoneclaw clan. In a sense, Lin Yuan could be considered a direct subordinate of Suhiburu. In addition, Lin Yuan represented terrifying benefits. If Suhiburu, who was known as the Saint Heart Ape King, still didn't know how to get close to Lin Yuan, then he didn't deserve the two words Saint Heart. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes and said in a deep voice, "Great Monster King, don't worry. I specially came here today to solve a problem, not to cause trouble. Not to mention that I really have a conflict with the Green Swamp clan, even if it's just a show, I will definitely greet them to death." In order to solve the covetous eyes of the various clans in the Hengduan Mountains, Lin Yuan's best method was to show off his strength. Those clans that weren't strong enough would naturally understand that Lin Yuan wasn't an existence they could provoke. 3 days ago, Lin Yuan sent the demi-humans to attack the monster kings attached to the Green Swamp clan to show off his power. Today's battle was to show off his strength. Soon, a sturdy green marsh lizard quickly walked onto the Black and White Stage. It looked around coldly and finally fixed its gaze on Lin Yuan. It said in a low and muffled voice, "Black Snake, you have the guts to kill my younger brother, Blood Claw, but don't have the guts to fight me on the stage. What's the difference between you and a weak human being if you dawdle down there?" Hearing this, the corner of Lin Yuan's mouth twitched slightly. His gaze paused for a moment on the indifferent Rock Skin and he immediately understood Rock Skin's thoughts. A green swamp lizard that had just entered the Mountain Lord realm might not be Lin Yuan's match in terms of combat strength. Moreover, with Lin Yuan's invisible bloodline suppression, it would be extremely difficult for it to win. Moreover, with the enmity between them, it was naturally impossible for Rock Skin to be willing to send his green swamp lizard with potential to fight. Therefore, at this moment, Rock Skin sent out this fellow who seemed to have muscles in his brain. In the next moment, Lin Yuan's figure moved and directly disappeared from the spot. When he reappeared, his fierce dragon tail was already smashing towards the green swamp lizard's face. With the sea-suppressing tail, Lin Yuan's attack was now as high as 500 points. In addition to the 50 points of true damage from the skill, if this attack landed, not to mention the fact that this lizard was just a little stupid, even if it had trained its brain into muscles, it would still die on the spot. However, there was a reason why this stupid green swamp lizard could survive until today. At the very least, its combat awareness was abnormally sharp. The moment Lin Yuan swung his tail, it had already determined that it couldn't withstand this attack. Therefore, it immediately dodged. However, its speed wasn't as fast as Lin Yuan's. When it twisted halfway, Lin Yuan's dragon tail had already fiercely lashed at it. Therefore, the green swamp lizard could only grit its teeth and use its tail to strike Lin Yuan's tail. Bang! A muffled sound reverberated. The moment the green swamp lizard's tail came into contact with Lin Yuan's dragon tail, it was directly smashed into a pile of meat paste. Lizards obviously didn't have this ability. The moment its tail was smashed, the green swamp lizard's expression became sinister and twisted like a demon that had crawled out from hell. Hiss! Hiss! The sound of cold breaths being sucked in instantly rang out. The demonic beasts that were qualified to watch the battle near the black and white stage were at least existences of the fourth stage of the Mountain Lord realm. Once an expert made a move, it would be obvious whether they were experts or not. Lin Yuan's tail swing was too fast, too fierce, and too ruthless. Many demonic beasts switched themselves with the green swamp lizard in their minds and simulated the battle with Lin Yuan. They were all shocked to realize that even if they were in Lin Yuan's position, they wouldn't be able to dodge Lin Yuan's swift and fierce tail swing without being prepared. After breaking the green swamp lizard's tail, although the sea-suppressing tail had entered a 5-minute cooldown, Lin Yuan didn't seem to have any intention of stopping his attack. The black dragon body crazily swung, whipping the green swamp lizard's body again and again. At first, the green swamp lizard still tried to struggle and counterattack. However, after several futile attempts, it seemed to have accepted its fate and began to protect its vital parts, allowing Lin Yuan to whip it. This time, Rock Skin finally couldn't maintain his calm expression. Although he knew that he would be the loser of this battle, there were ways to lose beautifully. The green swamp lizard's situation of being beaten by Lin Yuan was undoubtedly the most humiliating way. Rock Skin originally thought that the Green Swamp clan would be able to fight Lin Yuan to a draw with its superior combat instincts. However, it didn't expect that one of its tails would be crippled in just one exchange. Moreover, it even fell into Lin Yuan's attack rhythm. If it lost, wouldn't the other demonic beasts think that the Green Swamp clan was just a so-so, and that they didn't even have the ability to fight back against a demonic beast of the same level? However, Lin Yuan, who had been fighting for a long time, keenly sensed that something was wrong. This green swamp lizard seemed to be taking a beating, but its footsteps and breathing were extremely stable. Obviously, apart from the sea-suppressing tail that carried true damage, it wasn't very difficult for the green swamp lizard, whose muscles were extremely tough, to parry Lin Yuan's storm-like whip strikes. Its current actions were completely to show that it was weak. It's familiarizing itself with my attack rhythm? Interesting. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed, and the battle intent in his heart began to burn. Adapting to the opponent's attack rhythm, then taking advantage of the opponent's unpreparedness to deal a fatal blow. Lin Yuan had just played this trick once in the secret realm. He didn't expect to encounter a similar combat style so soon. Rock Skin probably didn't know that he had chosen a genius with an extremely strong combat awareness as trash and sent him to Lin Yuan. Chapter 384. After figuring out the big lizard strategy, Lin Yuan naturally wouldn't grit his teeth and suffer a loss. He changed his attack style and purposely revealed an opening. On the surface, he pretended to be exhausted. How could the big lizard let go of such a good opportunity? Almost at the same time Lin Yuan revealed an opening, the big lizard, which had been taking a beating, suddenly stretched out its claw and went straight for Lin Yuan's vital point. If ordinary demonic beasts were here to watch the battle, they might only feel that the two demonic beasts on the black and white stage were fast and fierce. However, of the demonic beasts who were qualified to watch the battle today, which one of them wasn't an expert who had climbed up from countless battles? When Lin Yuan purposely revealed an opening and the big lizard stretched out its claw to attack, they had already figured out that the two demon beasts on the field had just engaged in a psychological game. This lizard is going to be at a disadvantage. Raymond's lightning-like eyes lit up slightly. As the most belligerent of the three demon beast kings, the Honed Ice Wolf King was very clear that the two demon beasts fighting on the field were both rare geniuses in battle. If it weren't for its status and position, it would have personally intervened and taken the big lizard as its subordinate. After all, with Lin Yuan's current status, it wouldn't be able to persuade Lin Yuan to do anything. Even if it did take Lin Yuan as its subordinate, it didn't have the ability to command Lin Yuan to do anything. This youngster who had only been born last year was not inferior to its seniors at all. Moreover, today's battle was a stage for Lin Yuan to prove himself. If the demon beasts found by Rock Skin could defeat Lin Yuan in battle, they could naturally act as mediators and protect Lin Yuan. At the same time, they could also see if they could steal Lin Yuan from him. However, Lin Yuan wasn't at a disadvantage right now. He had even prepared a trap for the big lizard to jump into. Thinking of the benefits Lin Yuan could bring to himself and his subordinates, Raymond's mouth twitched, but he didn't say anything. Sure enough, the moment the big lizard stretched out its claw, Lin Yuan, who had long been prepared, suddenly pulled back. The big lizard's attack, which had been accumulating power for a long time, instantly missed. Moreover, it fell into an awkward state where it had used up all its strength and hadn't recovered its strength yet. However, Lin Yuan clearly didn't intend to miss this round and start all over again. He adjusted his posture in midair and fiercely whipped his tail at the big lizard's face. "There's still more," Keiho suddenly said, her gaze falling on the big lizard's bulging cheeks. When it came to poison, snake-type demon beasts were almost superior to most demon beasts. However, nothing was absolute. For example, the green swamp lizard wasn't inferior to snake-type demon beasts in terms of poison. Otherwise, Keiho wouldn't have suffered heavy casualties when defending against the Green Swamp clan's territorial struggle. Seeing that the big lizard seemed to be holding something in its mouth, Keiho knew that this big lizard wasn't just preparing for a simple attack. It had other tricks up its sleeve. When Lin Yuan pulled back, the big lizard pondered for a moment. Then, it decisively opened its mouth and spat out a cloud of dark green gas, which turned into a column of smoke and crashed towards Lin Yuan. Good heavens! All the demon beasts watching the battle, including Lin Yuan, clearly didn't expect the big lizard to be so well prepared. It even considered that Lin Yuan had purposely exposed a flaw to lure it into a trap. Most of the demon beasts were interested. After all, poison wasn't something to be trifled with. If it was mild, it could cripple one, and if it was severe, it could even cause one to lose one's life. Even at their level, they definitely wouldn't want to be contaminated with such things if they could avoid it. Even if it was some weak poison that wouldn't affect them for a while, it would become a hidden danger after a long time, not to mention the poison used in a battle of life and death. They were very interested in how Lin Yuan would deal with the big lizard's poisonous smoke. However, Lin Yuan was only slightly surprised for a moment. He still didn't show any signs of stopping his attacks, as if he didn't care about the big lizard's poisonous smoke at all. However, when the poisonous smoke was about to touch Lin Yuan, walls made of ice crystals instantly condensed and directly blocked the way of the poisonous smoke. Before the poisonous smoke dispersed, the ice walls twisted again and directly wrapped the poisonous smoke inside, forming a crystal-clear ice ball. The demon beasts could even clearly see the poisonous smoke rolling in the hollow ice ball. The big lizard's prepared killing move was easily broken by Lin Yuan. The smug look in its eyes disappeared instantly. Looking at Lin Yuan's tail that was smashing towards its face, it tried to dodge as if it had just woken up from a dream. After all, in its plan, even if Lin Yuan didn't get hit, he would have to distance himself again to dodge its poisonous smoke. It completely didn't expect the situation to turn out like this. Bang! It took a direct hit from Lin Yuan's tail head-on. The big lizard took a few steps back, and a large part of its head was visibly dented. Even its eyes were red. It wasn't because of anger, but because Lin Yuan's tail attack had oppressed its visual nerves and some of its blood vessels. That was why it looked so ferocious now. The corner of Rock Skin's mouth twitched slightly. This big lizard, which was usually so stupid that it was almost stupid, was the existence that Rock Skin had carefully selected to die. However, the big lizard was able to withstand Lin Yuan's bloodline pressure until now and didn't show any signs of being defeated. Even Rock Skin was stunned by the two moves just now. How could Rock Skin not know that this abandoned child was actually a rare genius, but it only knew how to fight and cultivate? A good seedling was destined to fall in the hands of Lin Yuan today. After all, as the landmark of the Monster King Court, the black and white platform wasn't something that could be casually used. Once both sides voluntarily stepped on the black and white platform, unless the three great beast kings and the beast master spoke together, they wouldn't give up. Otherwise, even if both sides had put down their grudges and were willing to shake hands and make peace, they would still have to fight to the death on the black and white platform. The Beast Master Kiran's intentions were very difficult to guess. After all, the thunderbolts and rain were all King's grace. Rock Skin didn't think that the Beast Master Kiran could suppress the three great Beast Kings and force him to come up with a solution to solve this problem. Lin Yuan's current position in the Hengduan mountain range was much higher than the Green Swamp clan. In addition, the battle strength of Lin Yuan's subordinates were generally low, so they were relatively easy to control. On the contrary, the Green Swamp clan had been fighting for territory these years. Even Cao Ji, the great Beast King, had been offended by it. If the King Court didn't take this opportunity to make the Green Swamp clan bleed, Rock Skin would be walking backwards from now on. If he knew that this Black Jiao was growing so fast, he wouldn't have offended Lin Yuan no matter what. Otherwise, with Lin Yuan's help, perhaps within 1 or 2 years, he would also be one of the great Beast Kings. He wouldn't need to look at the faces of other monster kings anymore. Chapter 385. Lin Yuan was not surprised to see that the big lizard was only injured and not killed. After all, without the 50 points of true damage from the sea-suppressing tail, no matter how ferocious his attacks were, they would be reduced by half by the lizard's defense. Lin Yuan did not think that he was strong enough to kill a demon beast of the same level with his physical fitness. The sea-suppressing tail was still in cooldown, so were the Water King and Formless Ice. Lin Yuan did not want to expose his killer move, Void's Embrace, in public, so he had very few moves to use. Although he could kill the big lizard with his own attributes, that kind of victory was not what Lin Yuan needed. A battle to show off his strength ended in a bloody battle. Although the result was the same, the deterrence was completely different. Lin Yuan's black body flew in the air, and his heterochromatic eyes coldly sized up the big lizard. The big lizard turned its body with Lin Yuan, and its red eyes were full of vigilance. Swish! Lin Yuan moved again. The big lizard dodged subconsciously. However, in the next moment, the huge black Jiao disappeared from everyone's sight. It's that piece of ice. A light flashed in the Honan Ice Wolf King's eyes, and it murmured, "This kid is really interesting. It's only a water snake that was born with the ice element talent by chance, but its use of the ice element talent is far better than most ice element demonic beasts. He's a good seedling." As the strongest ice element demonic beast in the Hengduan mountain range, the Honan Ice Wolf King once froze 3 cities at the border of the Qiaolo's empire with a wolf howl. There were nearly 1 billion people in the 3 cities, but they all disappeared with a wolf howl. Even now, more than 10 years later, the Honan Ice Wolf King's name was still effective in stopping children from crying at night in the Qiaolo's empire. Such a strong person commented that Lin Yuan was extremely skillful in the use of ice talent. Even if most of the demonic beasts didn't know how many tricks there were, they knew that this black snake was really amazing. Many ice-type beasts even fell into deep thought. What Lin Yuan used was nothing more than a little trick. He used the ice layer to refract sunlight to create a blind spot. Even if Lin Yuan was still in that area, he wouldn't be able to see it with the naked eye. In the past, the profound ice duck had used a similar method to create an illusion that could be seen but could not be touched to confuse the Crimson Flame Crocodile King. Now, Lin Yuan was also using this little trick to hide his body. However, such a simple trick was not something that all ice-type beasts could think of. Even if they could, they might not be able to replicate it. As a combat genius, the big lizard did not panic when it saw that Lin Yuan had hidden himself. Instead, it closed its eyes and began to use its other senses to search for Lin Yuan. Just like how many blind people's sense of hearing and smell were several times more sensitive than ordinary people's, when it closed its eyes, its other senses would be enhanced to a certain extent. Soon, the big lizard closed its eyes and charged toward the area where Lin Yuan was. Lin Yuan, who was accumulating strength, was slightly surprised. However, he had to get up and swing his tail at the big lizard. He didn't know how the big lizard found him. It used the ice layer and light to block its vision, and there was no smell on it. In addition, Lin Yuan did not touch the ground at all. He had been hovering in the air. No matter whether it was sight, smell, or hearing, there was no way to locate Lin Yuan. However, if it was just luck, it was too much of a coincidence. On such a large black and white platform, the big lizard did not go anywhere but came straight for him. Could it be described as luck? The snake tail and the big lizard's head collided again. This time, the big lizard did not retreat half a step, but Lin Yuan was instantly sent flying a long distance away. He was directly pushed out of the blind spot of the group of monsters, and his figure was revealed again. Could it be that this guy did something to me? Lin Yuan thought to himself. Although he did not think that the big lizard had the ability to hide from him and the system, Lin Yuan could not help but suspect what had happened just now. Otherwise, he could not explain how the big lizard could accurately locate his position and launch the charge without holding back at all. Berserk. When the big lizard opened its eyes and looked at Lin Yuan again, a big shot of the desolate demon realm exclaimed in a low voice. Most demonic beasts had mixed bloodlines, but some demonic beasts with pure bloodlines had abilities that other mixed-blood demonic beasts did not have. For example, Berserk was one of them. It could greatly increase the attributes of a demonic beast for a short period of time. However, the side effects were also very obvious. After activating Berserk, a demonic beast would become irritable and would attack all the creatures around it. The big lizard's action just now was because it had detected Lin Yuan's existence after activating Berserk. Driven by the side effects, it launched such a desperate charge. Unfortunately, the big lizard's full charge only pushed Lin Yuan out of the range of the camouflage. It was still a long way from seriously injuring Lin Yuan. Moreover, there was not much time left for the big lizard. Once Berserk ended, the big lizard would fall into an extremely weak state before it defeated or killed Lin Yuan. You really dare to gamble. Subaru crossed his arms in front of his chest and commented with a click of his tongue. None of the spectators here were from the desolate demon realm. Even if they did not consider the strength of the clan behind them, any one of them could easily crush this big lizard. However, the big lizard still activated Berserk, as if it was sure that it could find Lin Yuan and was not worried about offending the leaders of the other clans. Of course, there was nothing wrong with this mentality. In any case, the Beast Master and the three Beast Kings would not speak at the same time. The big lizard and Lin Yuan were going to fight to the death. If it gambled, it would die. If it did not gamble, it would die. If it could end the battle now, the big lizard would live. It seems that our clan leader Rockhide really wants to win, Keiho said with a smile. Keiho also said with a smile. She looked at Rocky with a mocking gaze. Demonic beasts that could activate Berserk were all people with pure bloodlines. Such an existence could be said to be as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns in the grassy swamp where demonic beasts of various clans lived together. Moreover, the big lizard was not the only one. Many of the big shots who were paying attention to Lin Yuan had records of its younger brother, Blood Claw. An intelligence realm mixed blood lizard could only get the position of commander in the grassy swamp clan. It could be said that it was trash among trash. Chapter 386. Despite having such a trashy younger brother, the big lizard was a demon beast with a pure bloodline. Without a doubt, this guy's luck was ridiculously good, encountering the countless possibilities of atavism. His bloodline was closer to the green marsh lizard's ancestor than Rockhide. After all, the green marsh lizard's ancestor was able to conquer the green marsh, a territory close to the Hengduan mountain range, and leave it to his descendants. Clearly, the green marsh lizard's ancestor was an outstanding existence. At this moment, Rockhide was so regretful that his intestines turned green. Not only was this big lizard a genius in battle, it was also an existence whose bloodline had atavism. It could be said that it was a natural aristocrat in the demon beast world. If it could be properly nurtured, the big lizard could at least replace any one of the three desolate beasts and continue to protect the Green Marsh clan. Even if it didn't have the prestige of the Green Marsh clan today, its strength wouldn't be too bad. At the very least, it could protect 70% of the Green Marsh clan's territory from falling into the hands of other clans. But it was this kind of future hope that it had personally delivered to the blade of the Grim Reaper. As for Keiho's words, it was more of a sarcastic mockery. She just wanted to slap Rockhide's face in front of everyone. They were all demon beasts of the Hengduan mountain range, how could they not know each other? Ever since Rockhide knew of Lin Yuan's cultivation, he didn't have the slightest intention of winning this battle. He went back and picked a guy who thought he was trash to fool around with. But he didn't expect that he would lose his own treasure. Rockhide pondered for a moment. Ignoring the heat on his face, he quickly walked to the side of the three great beast kings and said in a low voice, "We are all brothers and sisters of the Hengduan mountain range. If I have offended you in any way in the past, I ask the three great beast kings to forgive this little brother. Today's matter. Speak frankly, what's the price?" Subaru couldn't be bothered to play this game with Rockhide and directly interrupted his hypocrisy. When Rockhide moved his butt, the three beast kings already knew what Rockhide was planning to do. He wanted to make the three beast kings stop the battle, so that Rockhide could ask Beast King Kirin to stop the battle. Although Rockhide was pained by the price he had to pay, he had no choice but to do it for the future of the Green Marsh clan. Although the three beast kings were on Lin Yuan's side, strictly speaking, they only cared about the benefits that Lin Yuan could bring to them in the future. But now that Rock Peter was willing to sacrifice himself, they naturally had no reason to reject him. Unlike the benefits that Lin Yuan could bring to them in the future, Rock Peter just had to open his mouth and they would be able to obtain the benefits that were readily available. Seeing how straightforward Subaru was, Rockhide stopped pretending and said in a deep voice, "This little brother has offended you in the past. I ask the three beast kings to make a price. Regardless of whether it's fair or not, consider it my apology to the three beast kings." Rockhide, who was able to develop the Green Marsh clan from the grassy swamp to its current state, definitely wouldn't do something like this. After all, if he offered too little, he would offend the beast kings and definitely not be able to keep the lizard. But if he offered too much, it would be a huge loss. So he gave the three beast kings the opportunity to bid. As long as it wasn't lower than his estimation of the lizard's future, Rockhide was willing to accept it. After all, when it came to buying, even if a price was called out, there was still room for negotiation, right? I want 5 million demonic beasts, whether it's the lizard of the Green Marsh clan or the demonic beasts that are attached to your Green Marsh clan. Recently, the Gallo dynasty has been restless in the demonic beast forest. I reckon that they want to expand 1 or 2 border cities. So, there will be a tough battle on my side soon, and I'm currently lacking in combat power. Raymond took the lead and stated his conditions. Rockhide's mouth twitched slightly. He completely didn't expect that Raymond didn't want territory or spirit items. The moment he opened his mouth, he wanted to send the demonic beasts under his command to assist in the battle. This was a solid blow to Rockhide's body. 5 million demonic beasts sounded like a lot, but in reality, it wasn't much. For demonic beasts with extremely high reproductive abilities, they could easily produce dozens of young demonic beasts in a single year. Even if only a tenth of them could become demonic beasts, they could still provide a dozen or so demonic beasts for the clan every year. And when these demonic beasts grew up, they would form new families, which was why demonic beasts were divided into so many tribes and clans. A mere 5 million demonic beasts was something the Green Swamp clan could gather in a single day. However, these demonic beasts were all borrowed by Raymond. As long as the war over there ended, these demonic beasts would have to be returned to the Green Marsh clan. Therefore, Raymond would definitely use these demonic beasts as cannon fodder. When the time came, Raymond would be merciful if only 100,000 of the 5 million demonic beasts could survive. Therefore, in order to send out these 5 million demonic beasts, Rock Skin would have to give the clans under his command sufficient benefits. Otherwise, there would definitely be a shortage of demonic beasts. Even if there were enough demonic beasts, there was no guarantee that Raymond wouldn't come looking for trouble after the war. Wolf King, it's not that this little brother doesn't want to give you face, but the Green Marsh clan's manpower has been very tight recently. Especially with that black snake attacking without declaring war and slaughtering my Green Marsh clan's demonic beasts, we've lost a large number of people. There are also some demonic beasts who saw that our Green Marsh clan was in trouble and announced their departure before the black snake attacked. There are even some who want to take advantage of the situation to rob us. I'm also in a terrible fix. Rawhide rubbed his claws in fear and said in a deep voice, 5 million demonic beasts. The Green Marsh clan definitely won't be able to gather that much in a short period of time. What this little brother can promise to the Wolf King is at most 3 million demonic beasts. Moreover, I can guarantee that at least a quarter of these 3 million demonic beasts will be lizard men. Equipped with the various military equipment purchased from the human caravans, the combat strength of these 3 million demonic beasts will definitely be much stronger than 5 million ordinary demonic beasts. Raymond pondered for a moment, then narrowed his eyes and asked, "Are you bargaining with me?" "I wouldn't dare. I wouldn't dare." Rawhide waved his claws and sighed, "This little brother really wants to, but his strength is lacking. It's not very possible to gather 5 million demonic beasts for the Wolf King. The only thing this little brother can do is to convince the demonic beasts of my clan. Of these 3 million demonic beasts, I can guarantee that at least a third, and close to half, will be lizard men who have just upgraded their equipment." "Oh, that's a bit sincere." Raymond nodded his head in satisfaction and said, "Then I'll consider you to have passed my test. Remember, once my conscription order reaches the Green Marsh clan, I want to see the demonic beast army you've prepared set out. Otherwise, don't blame me for not fighting with the humans and attacking you first." Chapter 387. The frigid Wolf King's territory wasn't a peaceful place. It was adjacent to the border cities of the Jiaolu, Qingjiang, and Luofeng dynasties. Whenever the three dynasties coveted the Hengduan Mountains, the frigid Wolf King had to stand up and organize the Yao beasts to counterattack the humans, regardless of whether the frigid Wolf King was willing or not. He didn't expect to kill a lot of humans, but he could at least protect the Yao beast forest as a buffer zone from being occupied by the humans. It was a true battleground. After all, while fighting the humans, he also had to guard against the cold knives from the various Yao beast clans in the Hengduan Mountains. After getting past Raymond, Rawhide finally let out a sigh of relief and looked at Keiho. Keiho snorted coldly and didn't look at Rawhide. Rawhide smiled and said confidently, "I know how dissatisfied the colorful Snake Queen is with me. Although your clansmen lost a few territories to me back then, and although they are no longer under the control of my Green Swamp clan, if the Snake Queen is willing to wait for a while, this little brother is willing to take back those territories and offer them to the Snake Queen." It was true that Keiho and Rawhide had a conflict, but it was still the same old saying. At the level of a great beast king, they didn't care about how many territories they had under their name, nor did they care about how much profit those territories could bring them. They cared more about the situation of the entire Hengduan Mountains. Of course, they also cared about their own reputation. The Yao beasts under Keiho's command lost their territories. A great beast king couldn't even compete with a great beast king who wasn't even a great beast king candidate. This matter wasn't a big deal, but it wasn't a small one either. At the time, it caused a lot of waves. Many Yao beasts with ulterior motives even spread rumors that Keiho didn't have the ability to be a great beast king. However, these Yao beasts with ulterior motives didn't end up well in Keiho's hands, so the other Yao beasts gradually forgot about this matter. All these years, the grudge between Rawhide and Keiho was because Rawhide had made Keiho lose face. As long as Rawhide could lower his head and regain his reputation for Keiho, letting him go would be a piece of cake. Keiho naturally wouldn't push him to his death as the leader of the Green Swamp clan. It's just a few lousy territories. Do you think this king really cares about them? Keiho rolled her eyes at Ikigami, but she honestly took a step back. Ape King, you, Rock Skin rubbed his claws with a worried expression on his face. After all, the Black Snake King was a clan subordinate, and the other two Beast Kings didn't. But today's matter involved Suhiro's reputation was a matter. If it was Sui King's reputation was a matter. But, today, SSS. Was King's reputations's. This king to the swamp understand clan, and swamp. And, as well. Clan, it's. This king. This. Ants to. The, S. S was. Hearing this, Rockskin's face lit up with joy. But. Suhiro didn't wait for Rockhide to speak. He suddenly changed the topic and said, if you do something wrong, you have to pay the price. From tomorrow until today, 60% of the phase produced by the Green Swamp clan's territory will be offered to the royal court. Once the deal is done, it will be given to the Black Jiao. I will arrange for a few beast kings to stay in the grassy swamp to supervise this matter. Do you have any objections? This. Rockhide's expression became increasingly stiff. In order to gather an army of 3 million demonic beasts for Raymond, the Green Swamp clan would have to pay a considerable amount of spiritual items. Keiho's previous territories were indeed no longer under the Green Swamp clan's control. If the Green Swamp clan wanted to take them back, they would have to resort to extreme methods such as war and land swapping. This would be a considerable expenditure that would almost empty the Green Swamp clan's treasury. In fact, even the Green Swamp clan's treasury would be damaged by half. Now, Suhiro was pulling the carpet from under him. What did it mean to only be able to harvest 30% of the phase in the territory in 3 years? The grassy swamp's territory wasn't small, and 30% of the phase was a considerable amount. But for cultivation resources like phase, once they matured, apart from a few that needed to wait for their age to be effective, most of them were directly eaten by the phase. The Green Swamp clan produced a lot of phase in a year, but they also consumed a lot of phase. 30% of the phase might barely be enough to fill their stomachs. Moreover, weren't those small beast kings attached themselves to Rockhide because of the Green Swamp clan's reputation? Now that they were hanging the Green Swamp clan's banner, they could only get 30% of the phase produced in their territory. If those beast kings didn't take this opportunity to leave the Green Swamp clan, Rockhide would directly pluck off his head and let Lin Yuan kick it like a ball. At this moment, Rockhide was finally certain that the 3 beast kings couldn't stand the Green Swamp clan anymore. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they had been thinking about weakening the Green Swamp clan for a long time. Lin Yuan was just a blade in their hands. A cold glint flashed in Rockhide's eyes, but just like Suhiro, this cold glint only lasted for a moment before disappearing without a trace. He said with an obsequious smile, Ape King, this little brother feels deeply guilty and is indeed willing to accept punishment. But now, the Green Swamp clan has just experienced a war, and the dead phase have yet to be properly dealt with. Their descendants also need to be provided for by the clan. This will almost empty half of the Green Swamp clan's savings. I still need to give phase to the Wolf King and Snake Queen. What do you think about this? That's your problem, it has nothing to do with us. Suhiro grinned malevolently at Rockhide and said in a cold voice, you asked us to offer a price. Now that we've made it clear to you, I definitely don't have any room to bargain. If you're not willing, then I'll just treat your previous words as farts. Raymond smiled and said, Brother Rockhide, it's fine if you really can't take out phase. I've been in a state of war all year round. The 3 million Fey army is my concession to you, but if you really lack Feys to feed those Feys in the clan, we can't really go too far. How about this, you can have your Feys serve in my territory. Just like how humans hire demon slayers, I'll pay Feys to hire them to fight. The fee for this hire will also have to be paid according to what I said. 60% to the royal court, 10% to the Black Jiao. Subaru said to Raymond with a serious expression, as if he was afraid that Raymond would forget the price he offered. He didn't have the slightest intention of giving Rockhide a chance to drill, which made Rockhide's face burn with embarrassment. If it wasn't for the inappropriate atmosphere and environment, Rockhide wouldn't have been able to hold back his anger. Chapter 388. Of course, of course. Little brother naturally won't forget elder brother's words. Raymond also gave a hollow laugh. The three Beast Kings' resources and income were all directly deposited into the Monster Beast Imperial Court. Therefore, this 60% income was no different from going from left hand to right hand. Moreover, this was Raymond's own capital. The other two Beast Kings definitely wouldn't get a share. It was equivalent to Raymond only paying 40% of the cost to hire a group of elite monster beasts from the Green Swamp clan. Sword Face's face was as gloomy as water. Subaru's arms were still crossed in front of his chest as he coldly said, "Right now, you are the one who is begging us, not the one who is forcing you to take out these things. Provoking the Black Jiao was your own doing. You didn't want to suffer the consequences and ran to the Monster Beast Imperial Court to complain. In the end, you lifted a rock and smashed your own foot. Who can you blame? As long as you act as if nothing happened just now, then we have nothing to say." Keiho smiled and said, "We are all brothers and sisters of the Hengduan mountain range. How can there be something like who is making things difficult for who? Rock Skin, we really won't force you to take out these things. I even hope that you will carefully consider whether it is worth it to pay such a huge price for a little brat who you don't even know if he can grow up." Rock Skin's face was as gloomy as water. He didn't respond to Keiho's words. When the three Beast Kings opened their mouths today, Rock Skin knew that the three Beast Kings had already checked the bottom line. Their goal was to empty out all the resources in the Green Swamp clan's hands. Taking benefits from the Green Swamp clan was secondary. More importantly, they wanted to suppress the Green Swamp clan. If Rock Skin really agreed to this condition, at least within 3 years, not only would the Green Swamp clan's strength not improve, it would even weaken due to the departure of countless little Beast Kings. However, not only would it sacrifice a good seedling if it didn't agree to the conditions of these three Beast Kings, but it might not even be able to protect the things in its hands. Lin Yuan was in the limelight at the moment, but his strength was still lacking. So, Lin Yuan was nothing more than a chess piece in the eyes of these three Beast Kings. Today, Lin Yuan could be this blade, and tomorrow, the other demon beasts could also be this blade. Sooner or later, the Green Marsh clan would fall apart due to the little tricks of these three great Beast Kings. Only when the three great Beast Kings had achieved their goal would they stop attacking the Green Marsh clan. Oh, no, at that time, the Green Marsh clan would no longer exist. I agree. Although Rock Skin's expression was still gloomy, he quickly compromised. He wasn't an ignorant fool. Since he was clear about the purpose of the three great Beast Kings, he wouldn't brace himself to confront them head-on. If he agreed, he would be able to maintain peace for at least 3 years. Who knows what changes would happen in the Hengduan Mountains by then. It was much better than being stabbed with a knife tomorrow and being stabbed with a spear in the back. At this moment, the berserk state of the giant lizard had reached its end. Its originally irritable momentum finally calmed down at this moment, and its face was filled with unconcealable exhaustion. After regaining its consciousness, the giant lizard glanced at Lin Yuan, who was more than 10 meters away from it, and closed its eyes as if it had accepted its fate. It had taken out all its trump cards, but it still couldn't do anything to Lin Yuan. Now, it no longer had the strength to continue fighting. When it faced Lin Yuan again, it had no other choice but to wait for its death. Lin Yuan's body arched slightly, and he was ready to shoot out and kill the giant lizard at any time. After all, the giant lizard in its berserk state was like a hedgehog, and he had no way to attack it. He was even beaten up badly by its crazy counterattacks. If it weren't for the support of the full-level golden body technique and the flood dragon scale armor, Lin Yuan probably wouldn't have been able to see much flesh on his body at this moment. Otherwise, he wouldn't have retreated more than 10 meters away and looked at the giant lizard in a frenzy. Boom! Just as Lin Yuan was about to rush out, a powerful momentum descended from the sky and directly fixed him in place. Under the suppression of this momentum, Lin Yuan turned his head with some difficulty and immediately saw Rock Skin standing with the three Beast Kings. After brainstorming for a bit, Lin Yuan quickly guessed why Subaru suddenly stopped him from killing the giant lizard. There were no eternal enemies or friends in the world, but benefits were definitely eternal. During the period when the giant lizard went berserk, Rock Skin probably gritted his teeth and paid a lot of blood before he agreed to let the three Beast Kings protect the giant lizard. At the beginning of this battle, the three Beast Kings were also prepared to protect Lin Yuan. After all, they had only heard a lot about Lin Yuan and didn't know much about him, so they couldn't be sure if Lin Yuan could win. However, the three Beast Kings didn't protect him because he had paid a heavy price, but because they wanted to earn endless benefits from him. "Come here, I have something to tell you." Subaru waved at Lin Yuan, and his loud voice rang out first. After all, the Beast Kings who were watching the battle had seen it before. When they saw that the battle was suddenly interrupted and Rockskin was standing beside the big Beast Kings, they quickly realized what had happened. They couldn't help but twitch their lips. It had been a long time since they had seen such outstanding juniors fighting each other. They couldn't help but feel a little unhappy that the battle was suddenly interrupted. Lin Yuan nodded, and Subaru released the shackles on his body. Then, Lin Yuan turned his head and glanced at the dying giant lizard not far away. He could only grit his teeth and fly toward Subaru. In the end, it was because he wasn't strong enough. In the eyes of these Beast Kings, he could be used as a pawn to exchange benefits at any time. Lin Yuan wanted to take advantage of the moment when the Beast Kings let down their guard and directly kill the giant lizard that Rock Skin had paid a heavy price to protect. However, after thinking carefully, Lin Yuan gave up on this tempting idea. After all, the Beast Kings of the desolate demon realm weren't to be trifled with. Not to mention whether Lin Yuan had the strength to kill the giant lizard under their noses. Even if he had the strength, if he provoked these Beast Kings for the sake of revenge, would he still be able to do business in the northern frontier? However, in Lin Yuan's heart, he still listed the three Beast Kings as vengeful people. Indeed, he wasn't strong enough and deserved to be used as a pawn to exchange benefits. The rules of the world were like this. Aside from the existences standing at the top of the world, who wasn't a pawn in the hands of others? However, this feeling wasn't very pleasant. Therefore, after he had enough strength, Lin Yuan would sooner or later get back at them and properly vent his anger. When he thought of this, Lin Yuan had already flown in front of Subaru. Chapter 389. Subaru told Lin Yuan all the conditions that Rockhide had promised him, then transmitted his voice. "This isn't something that can be decided by us subjects. The Green Swamp clan has been wantonly expanding their territory in the Hengduan mountain range all these years. They simply don't put us in their eyes. Suppressing them has always been the Beast Master's idea. I admit that you are indeed being used as a blade by us today, but your potential is right there. In the future, you will definitely surpass us and become the Beast Master. You might even become an existence even more terrifying than the current Beast Master. Therefore, we don't have any malice towards you." Lin Yuan indifferently glanced at Subaru. 10% of the Green Swamp clan's income had to be handed over to him. Don't underestimate this insignificant 10%. The difference between the Green Swamp clan and Lin Yuan's Stoneclaw Forest wasn't as simple as 1 or 2 grades. The Green Swamp clan's income in a year was at least 20 to 30 years of Stoneclaw Forest's income. This wasn't a small amount, and it was Subaru who had fought for it for him. This meant that Subaru really didn't have any malice towards him. Otherwise, if he had already done such a disgusting thing, why would he mind being even more disgusting? Even if the three Beast Masters took all the benefits for themselves, Lin Yuan couldn't turn hostile on the spot. After all, he still had to rely on the Hengduan mountain range's Fey business to stabilize the people of the northern frontier. Only then would he have enough funds and food to invest in the various projects that were under construction. The Hengduan mountain range's existence gave him convenience. He relied on the Hengduan mountain range to barely maintain the current idyllic situation of the northern frontier. Pa. Subaru lightly patted Lin Yuan's head and chuckled, "Do your best, young man. There are so many candidates for the position of Beast Master in the Hengduan mountain range, but this old man thinks highly of you. You started from scratch and even a desolate demon realm existence like Rockhide had to suffer in your hands. You are much stronger than those little bastards who relied on the clan's influence to become candidates." Raymond and Keiho were whispering something to each other. After all, Lin Yuan was nominally Suhibaru's man. If they rashly came over to pick him up, Suhibaru, the big brother, would not treat them well. After all, the Sacred Heart Ape King was the most realistic of the three great beast kings. Either there were enough benefits, or they had to give him enough face. Otherwise, if you made him unhappy, he could tear you into minced meat in minutes. Lin Yuan had obtained his share of benefits, Rockskin had protected the giant lizard, and the royal court had weakened the Green Swamp clan. The three beast kings had also profited greatly. No one had thought that this matter would develop into a happy ending. However, there were a few beast kings present who were truly happy. This was a big question mark. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, another 2 months had passed. Winter had completely ended. Other than the territories of the ice-type beast kings in the Hengduan mountain range, the last layer of snow had completely melted. The northern frontier now had 21 large-scale settlements, countless medium-sized towns, and small villages. The spring planting work had been completely completed, which also meant that the northern frontier had successfully attracted the refugees. Not to mention that the situation in the Shinwu dynasty had not stabilized yet. Even if it had, at least before this year's autumn harvest, they could forget about any of these refugees leaving the northern frontier. Lin Yuan lazily lay in the backyard of the northern frontier prince's mansion, basking in the sun. A dim light lingered in his multicolored eyes. No one knew what he was thinking, but the coldness in his eyes gradually spread. Hu Yen hurriedly rushed into the backyard and said with a gloomy face, "Something happened." Lin Yuan woke up from his thoughts and raised his head to look at Hu Yen. Lei Fan's death has been confirmed. It was done by the sect of the Blood Divine. Also, I heard that the Freedom Courtyard had wanted to move out of the northern frontier some time ago, but they were blocked by the sect of the Blood Divine. Both sides fought fiercely in the territory of the Freedom Courtyard. I heard that the Freedom Courtyard suffered a great loss. Master Kuhai lost an arm, Master Kushuan had his eyes gouged out, and even Master Kyuan was heavily injured. Hu Yan's face was unusually solemn as he slowly spoke of the information he had gathered. Cultivators of the Void Netherworld realm were already at the top of the world. At least on the surface, that was the case. The Shinwu dynasty had been established for several decades, and the number of Void Netherworld realm cultivators who died in accidents or were killed by others was less than 3. News of Void Netherworld realm cultivators being severely injured or crippled was unheard of. But now, there were 3 such cases in the northern frontier. Lei Fan's death did not come as a surprise to Lin Yuan. After all, Lei Fan was the one who orchestrated the massacre of the various sects in the northern frontier. The members of these sects hated Lei Fan more than they hated Lin Yuan. After all, at that time, Lin Yuan was still in the mystic territory and had yet to come out. In addition, the Northern Frontier King's Palace and the Demon Emperor's Assembly had gone silent, which made people feel that Lin Yuan had no intention of starting a war at this time. Hence, the blood debt fell on Lei Fan. Ever since the day the news of Lei Fan's death was released, and the empty tomb that Lin Yuan had prepared for him was dug up, he knew that the sects had no intention of letting the matter rest. He had thought that after not hearing any news of Lei Fan for 2 months, he would have escaped from the northern frontier to look for Lei Chuming. He had not expected to hear news of Lei Fan's death today. However, Lin Yuan was not surprised. After all, with a few Void Netherworld realm cultivators leading the search for him, the possibility of Lei Fan escaping from the northern frontier was not high. "Let's go." Lin Yuan rose into the air and said expressionlessly, "Let's go to the Freedom Courtyard and take a look. Let's see who is so powerful to be able to cause the Freedom Courtyard, a sect with 3 Void Netherworld realm cultivators, to suffer such a huge loss." Although Old Demon Blood Sea was one of the Void Netherworld realm cultivators in the northern frontier, but strictly speaking, Old Demon Blood Sea was definitely the weakest of the few. Not to mention Yan Xingqi, who was known as the strongest cultivator in the northern frontier, even Master Kyuan could easily defeat Old Demon Blood Sea. But today, 2 of the 3 Void Netherworld realm cultivators from the Freedom Courtyard were injured and 2 of them were injured. The news that was released from this was really thought-provoking. If this was not a show that the Freedom Courtyard and the sect of the Divine Blood Sea had orchestrated, then the sect of the Divine Blood Sea should have colluded with some incredible existence. It might even be one of the sects that he had seen from the information in the secret territory. If it was really such an existence, then the matter had already reached a point where Lin Yuan could not control it. It was even possible that the entire northern frontier could be overturned by the other party. Lin Yuan could not help but be cautious. Lord Demon Emperor, please wait. Hu Yan took a step forward and stood in front of Lin Yuan, and said with a cold face, "From what I can see, the sect of the Divine Blood Sea is obviously provoking us on purpose. Especially Lei Fan's corpse, which was openly hung outside the mountain gate of the sect of the Divine Blood Sea. There must be a secret behind this matter, I think." Chapter 390. The news of Lei Fan's death had long spread. Not only had the sect of the Divine Blood intercepted and killed Lei Fan, they had even publicly hung Lei Fan's corpse outside the mountain gate. It was obvious that they were planning to humiliate the Wang residents in the northern frontier. In addition, when the Freedom Courtyard was about to move out of the northern frontier, they were suddenly blocked by the sect of the Divine Blood. After a battle between both parties, the sect of the Divine Blood, which was the weakest of the super forces in the northern frontier, had actually suppressed the disciples of the Freedom Courtyard and forced them to retreat. What the hell were they doing? This was like slapping Lin Yuan in the face. This meant that the sects in the northern frontier were determined to go against Lin Yuan to the end. What are you looking at? Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes impatiently. The information he had obtained from the palace was too shocking. Even the slightest bit of information could cause a huge uproar in the Sky Martial continent. It could even cause everyone to be in danger. Hence, he did not dare to say much. Now, he wanted to ascertain whether the sect of the Divine Blood's sudden rise was related to those existences. Why don't we let the brothers from the Demon Emperor's Association be the vanguard and see what trump cards the sect of the Divine Blood has? Hu Yan laughed bitterly and said helplessly, "The sect of the Divine Blood has now cut off all means of retreat. I'm afraid that they will take the opportunity when you go to investigate and kill the Demon Emperor without following the rules. When that happens, the nearby northern battlefront army might not be able to provide support in time. I implore the Demon Emperor to think twice before acting." If the person in charge of the Wang residents in the northern frontier was still Lei Fan, he would definitely not speak like Hu Yan. Firstly, Lei Fan trusted Lin Yuan's ability. Secondly, Lei Fan could not wait for Lin Yuan to die. In this way, he would be able to grasp the real power of the northern frontier. If necessary, Lei Fan would even cooperate with the sect of the Divine Blood. However, after witnessing how Lin Yuan removed Lei Fan's forces with a smile, Hu Yan did not dare to show any of his thoughts. Especially at such a critical moment, he could not bear to see Lin Yuan put himself in danger. The purge of the sects in the northern frontier had reached the final stage. If it were not for the sect of the Divine Blood's interference, the Freedom Courtyard would have already moved out of the northern frontier. Even if the Broken Moon House wanted to stay, they did not have the courage to confront the Wang residents in the northern frontier. After finishing the work of eliminating the sects in the northern frontier, the next step was to take action against the aristocratic families. If it were not for Lin Yuan taking the lead, Hu Yan really did not know where to start. After all, his Hu family was also a part of the aristocratic families. "Humph," Lin Yuan sneered and said expressionlessly, "What level is the Freedom Courtyard at?" With 3 Kongming realm experts in charge, the sect of the Divine Blood dared to block them and attack them. The defensive power of the Wang residents in the northern frontier is far inferior to that of the Freedom Courtyard. So what if I hide in the Wang residents in the northern frontier? If they really want to kill me, can't they block the Wang residents in the northern frontier? Hu Yan curled his lips and thought to himself, these are two different things. No matter how nicely the sect of the Divine Blood blocked the Freedom Courtyard, it was just a dispute in Jianghu. Not many people cared about how many bits and pieces were hidden in this matter. They just treated it as a show. However, if the sect of the Divine Blood blocked the Wang residents in the northern frontier, it was a different matter. This was called King Rebellion. They didn't even care about the freedom courtyard of the three Kongming sects, so why would they care about the Shenwu dynasty in the midst of a storm? After destroying our so-called Wang residents in the northern frontier, if the sect of the divine blood behaved a little better, wouldn't they still accept the edict of the Shenwu dynasty and become the new king of the northern frontier? Lin Yuan spat out another sentence. His tone was already cold. This time, Hu Yan opened his mouth but did not say a word. Lin Yuan was a demonic beast born in the Hengduan Mountains. In addition, he had consecutively destroyed cities on the northern frontier. Logically speaking, Lin Yuan should not be tolerated by the Shenwu dynasty. However, in order to stabilize the situation, the Shenwu dynasty still conferred a hereditary title of King of the Northern Frontier. Even the evil creature Lin Yuan was reluctantly conferred by the Shenwu dynasty as the god of the Northern Frontier. In name, he was in charge of good weather and peace. In fact, he gritted his teeth and handed over the Northern Frontier to Lin Yuan to govern. One of the reasons was that Lei Chuxing wanted to see what would happen to the Northern Frontier after Lin Yuan's new policies were implemented on the Northern Frontier. However, more importantly, it was because Lei Chuxing wanted to stabilize the situation on the Northern Frontier. There's no need to go. I've already checked. There's no one in the Church of the Blood God. Xia Siyu, who had snuck into the Northern Frontier King's mansion, suddenly spoke. Lin Yuan and Hu Yan followed the voice and looked over. They saw Xia Siyu sitting on the wall. The black robe he wore was stained with blood in many places. Xia Siyu's face was very pale. He looked like he had lost a lot of blood. However, the fact that he could still appear here meant that he had already taken care of his injuries. Seeing that the flood dragon and human were both at a loss, Xia Siyu jumped down from the wall and said in a deep voice, "The Church of the Blood God suddenly erupted with such powerful energy. It completely overturned the understanding of the association of the Demon Emperor. Furthermore, we have lost contact with the spies we planted in the Church of the Blood God. I had no choice but to personally take people there. I didn't expect that the Church of the Blood God had become an empty mountain. There was no one at all. However, they seemed to have expected that someone would sneak into the Church of the Blood God to investigate the situation. They even set up many traps. Of the 20 or so brothers who went with me, only 3 came out alive." Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly. He wasn't surprised. After all, even Xia Siyu, a natural assassin with the gift of shadow affinity, was in such a mess. It was reasonable that the ordinary cultivators had suffered heavy losses. However, according to the information from the spies of the Northern Frontier and the Association of the Demon Emperor, the people of the Church of the Blood God swaggered out of the mountain gate of the Church of the Blood God during the day and then returned to the Church of the Blood God at night. According to Xia Siyu's temperament, if he didn't get some important information after sneaking into the Church of the Blood God, he definitely wouldn't give up. However, he came back empty-handed, which meant that there was indeed no one in the mountain gate of the Church of the Blood God. If they were just exploring the periphery, the spies trained by the Association of the Demon Emperor wouldn't have lost so many people. However, if the entire mountain gate of the Church of the Blood God had been searched, then where were the people who entered and left the Church of the Blood God? Could there be some secret mechanism? Hu Yan asked with a frown. His expression was also not very good. Hu Yan had been in the northern frontier for a long time, but this was the first time he had heard of such a strange thing. Xia Siyu shook his head and said with a serious expression, "I brought people to investigate the mountain gate of the Church of the Blood God and each mountain peak. There were no traces of any secret mechanism. I also picked some mountains to check. There were not many traces of man-made destruction. The entire mountain should still be solid." This chapter is for listening to G-Book Friends. Add more. Thank you. Vote Mimi Go Cup. Chapter 391. What the hell is going on? Hu Yan muttered a few words, but his back was drenched in cold sweat. The trick of making people appear alive was not a trick. Those disciples of the Church of the Blood God were existences that could block the mountain gate of the Freedom Courtyard and wrestle with the disciples of the Buddhism sect. To say that they were illusions was purely self-deception. However, they could not understand at all how the disciples of the Church of the Blood God could appear out of thin air and then disappear into thin air. Lin Yuan just raised his eyelids. The Buddhism sect and the Confucian sect existed in this world. Although he had never seen ghosts and monsters, he could not deny that there were no such things in the Tianwu continent. After all, the existence of the black water of the Styx River was enough for Lin Yuan to overturn some of his previous conclusions. If there were ghosts and monsters, he could now release a group of them with his talent. Interesting. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly and said with a sneer. The reason for the sudden appearance and disappearance of the Church of the Blood God was still unclear, but he was certain that the sudden rise of the Church of the Blood God had nothing to do with the information he obtained from the palace. After all, none of those unspeakable existences would play such tricks. On the contrary, the action of confronting the Freedom Courtyard was a bit like the style of those existences. It's too interesting. Xia Xiu licked his lips, and a devilish smile appeared on his handsome face. He said in a cold voice, I wonder if these existences who are good at tricks will make the sound of their blood bleeding when I slit their throats with a dagger. For the bloodthirsty Xia Xiu, there was nothing more exciting than ending someone's life with his own hands. This was a psychological disease that Xia Xiu had been infected with after living among criminals for many years. Although Lin Yuan knew psychology, he was not a psychiatrist. He could not cure Xia Xiu's perverted disease and could only say that his words went in one ear and out the other. He was an existence that could even control a sect with a void netherworld realm cultivator. Even the 3 void netherworld realm cultivators of the Freedom Courtyard had suffered quite a bit. An assassin who wasn't even a Heaven Star border realm cultivator wanted to slit his throat? Lin Yuan pondered for a moment and said in a deep voice, It seems that I have to go to the Freedom Courtyard this time. I wonder what new information those masters can give us. On the other side, a pale-faced young man was walking on the bustling street of Shunning City. His long hair, which reached his waist, was a mixture of black and white. His clothes were also a bit strange. He was wearing a Shuangjin dynasty martial crotch with a silver soft armor inside and a gray scholar's robe outside. His outfit looked a bit out of place, but no one on the bustling street gave him a second glance. That idiot Fire Qilin, did he die in such a desolate place? The strange man stretched his back and muttered to himself, however, there are 2 interesting fellows in this damned place. A human soul was actually able to cross the sea of bitterness and come to this world. He even possessed a black snake and became a demon. The other imitated the Fire Kirin and played with death, deceiving the world and becoming a second person. Speaking of this, the strange man spread out his right hand and his fingers kept shaking. He laughed and said, The beast of immortality is a demon, and the second person is a devil. I didn't expect that I would encounter such an interesting battle on this mission. Although the strange man did not mention names, just like the demonized Xuanwu that was suppressed in the secret realm, he instantly deduced Lin Yuan's origin. He even calculated the reason behind the rise of the sect of the Blood Divine. If Lin Yuan saw this scene, he would have opened his eyes wide and called him a god. At the same time, in the mountain gate of the sect of the Blood Divine, a young man in a blood-red robe suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. He gritted his teeth and said, How dare you calculate my origin? How dare you? In the dark, a voice sounded. Demons perish by themselves, while devils perish by the heavens. I was able to deduce your background, so I'm naturally not afraid of you making a fuss about it. If you want to wrestle with me, then you have to hide your name and background well. Don't let me see it. Otherwise, I only have to call out your name, and it won't be long before the heavenly tribulation arrives. Suddenly, the strange man's voice suddenly sounded. The malice in his tone was not concealed at all. How dare you? The blood-robed young man slammed the table beside him and said coldly, If I hadn't just reincarnated and my cultivation hadn't recovered to the level of my previous life, requiring the blood sacrifice of thousands of people in the northern frontier, I could destroy an ant like you in a day's time. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? Old Demon Blood River, who was attracted by the blood-robed young man's slamming of the table, ran into the room and cupped his hands. He said, "Ancestor, why are you so angry? Could it be that my disciples have not treated you well?" The blood-robed young man shot a glance at Old Demon Blood River. There was no change in his expression. He raised his hand and wiped the black blood at the corner of his mouth with his sleeve. He said with a pale face, "What about the things I asked you to prepare?" 3,000 young boys and girls have been prepared. The various materials for setting up the array have also been purchased. Most of them have been stored in the warehouse. A small portion is on the way to the northern frontier, but an awkward look suddenly appeared on Old Demon Blood River's face as he said in a deep voice, "Ancestor, this is no longer the era when you were all-powerful. The strange beasts you mentioned are all priceless ancient species in this world. Furthermore, they are priceless. It's impossible to obtain them in a short period of time. Trash." The blood-robed young man shot a cold glance at Old Demon Blood River. The blood-robed young man was clearly only at the Heavenly Dipper realm, but Old Demon Blood River was so frightened by his glance that he began to tremble. His legs went soft as he knelt on the ground and kowtowed to the blood-robed young man. He said in a deep voice, "How can I not take the ancestors' instructions seriously? I really don't have the strength to do so. It's just too difficult to silently obtain an ancient species as a primer for the array. Ancestor, please let me off this time." The blood-robed young man shook his head and sighed. "That black Jiao has already noticed us. Before he realizes what we are going to do, we have to speed up the plan. What's more, now that an unknown bastard has joined the fray, there are more variables. Even I don't dare to say that I can control the entire situation." His original intention was to divert Lin Yuan's attention to the battle with the sections. However, he never expected that before Lin Yuan could even head to the Freedom Courtyard, the Demon Emperor Association had already found out about him. In addition, there was a fellow who could deduce his roots. He was feeling even more uneasy. "Thank you for voting for me." Chapter 392. 4 hours later. Lin Yuan and the others came to the gate of the Freedom Yard. A group of monks in gray robes guarded the mountain gate with vigilant faces. They were no longer holding wooden sticks that could not even cause a scratch. Instead, they were holding demon-subduing pestles made of pure metal, Buddhist commandment blades, and other deadly weapons. "Stop." The leading monk stopped Lin Yuan and the others who were going up the mountain. "How dare you? Even if you don't know me, you should know the Demon Emperor, right?" Hu Yen walked out of Lin Yuan's entourage with his sword in hand. His cold eyes fell on the monk who stopped them. In fact, as the person who slapped the face of the Freedom Courtyard, Lin Yuan was naturally no stranger in the eyes of the disciples of the Freedom Courtyard. However, what kind of juncture was the Freedom Courtyard at this time? 2 of the 3 Kongming realm cultivators in charge were disabled and 1 was injured. At this time, Lin Yuan coming to the Freedom Courtyard was definitely not a good thing. If he took advantage of this opportunity to uproot them, how could they explain? Unlike Hu Yen, who was in a hurry to go up the mountain, Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed with a cold light. He turned around and rushed towards Shunning City. He didn't realize until now that he had been tricked. It was true that the Church of the Blood God blocked the Freedom Yard that wanted to move out of the northern frontier. However, it was not to force the sects in the northern frontier to stand with them and fight to the death with the northern frontier prince's mansion. Their purpose from the beginning was to attract the attention of Lin Yuan, who had been resting in the northern frontier prince's mansion. Especially after Xia Siyu investigated the Church of the Blood God, he found that there was no one in the gate of the Church of the Blood God. In order to get more information, Lin Yuan could only take people to the Freedom Yard to see if he could get some information from the monks who had fought with the Church of the Blood God. It could be said that the purpose of the Church of the Blood God from fighting to hiding was to lure Lin Yuan to the Freedom Yard. This was a play to lure the tiger away from the mountain. Therefore, the cultivators of the Church of the Blood God had probably entered Shunning City and done whatever they wanted. Lord Shifter Emperor, you are. Hu Yen couldn't care less about showing off his might to the disciples at the gate of the free courtyard. He hurriedly turned around and chased after Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan glanced at Hu Yen, pondered for a moment, and then said indifferently, I still have some things to deal with. You take some people to the Freedom Courtyard first and see if you can get some information. We can't make this trip in vain. Lei Fan was several levels ahead of Hu Yen in terms of scheming ability and coping ability. Until now, Hu Yen was still thinking about how to get information about the Church of the Divine Blood from the Freedom Courtyard. He had not even thought about the other party's plan, which was to transfer them out of Shunning City from the very beginning. But in the future, Hu Yen still had to carry the banner of the King of the Northern Frontier. Lin Yuan did not want to reveal the reason in front of everyone. He had to save some face for Hu Yen. Yes. Hu Yen cupped his hands towards Lin Yuan and bowed his head in response. Seeing that Hu Yen had accepted the task, Lin Yuan only nodded slightly, then turned and left. After walking for about 300 miles, Lin Yuan suddenly stopped, the coldness in his eyes growing stronger. He lowered his voice and said, Come out. Do you want this king to drag you out one by one? As his voice fell, an old man in a green robe walked out from behind a huge tree with his hands behind his back. He looked at the vigilant Lin Yuan and licked his lips. He sneered and said, Lord Dragon King, my old ancestor invites you to come with me. His gaze paused on the old man for a moment. Lin Yuan suddenly tilted his head and sneered, Old Demon Blood Sea, do you think that the Church of the Blood God has the final say in the northern frontier just because you have dealt a heavy blow to the Freedom Courtyard? Who dares to be so presumptuous in this king's territory? If your old ancestor wants to see me, tell him to come to the northern frontier's royal residence to pay me a visit. Old Demon Blood Sea's expression turned cold as he said coldly, Black Snake, do you really think you are the uncrowned king of the northern frontier after giving you some face? You know nothing of my strength. It is your honor that my old ancestor wants to see you now. If you dare to grumble again, this old man will break your bones and drag you back to the Church of the Blood God. Lin Yuan was silent. Old Demon Blood Sea was a void netherworld realm existence after all. Even during the turbulent times in Beijing in the past, the combat strength that Old Demon Blood Sea displayed could only be ranked at the bottom of the void netherworld realm in the northern frontier. However, after the battle at the Freedom Courtyard, Old Demon Blood Sea had fought 1 against 3, crippling 2 and injuring 1 out of the 3 masters of the Freedom Courtyard. Just this achievement alone gave Old Demon Blood Sea the qualifications to look down on the northern frontier. However, it was only looking down on the northern frontier. This was because what he could do, Yan Xingqi could do as well. After leaving the northern frontier, there were as many experts as there were stars in the sky. Otherwise, a mighty figure like the Ink Abyss who stood at the pinnacle of the desolate demon realm would not have to be trapped in the Hengduan mountain range. However, listening to Old Demon Blood River's words, it seemed that he didn't take the unspoken rules of the world seriously at all. To fight Lin Yuan, a monster beast at the Mountain Lord realm, with his Kongming realm cultivation base, not to mention that it would be bad if word got out. Even if it was to prevent those big monster beasts from being provoked, the human side would think of ways to make Old Demon Blood River pay the corresponding price. Could it be that the grand ancestor that she mentioned could exempt him from the punishment of this rule? A ridiculous thought rose in Lin Yuan's mind. Immediately after, Lin Yuan shook his head with a smile. If the Church of the Blood God really had such a terrifying power, then there should be a true mighty figure that surpassed the void netherworld realm in their sect. They would not be content with the northern frontier. In the world, where could they not display their strength? Black Snake, I advise you not to have any wishful thinking. The grand ancestor of my sect lost his cultivation due to some matters. Now, his cultivation is about the same as yours, a heaven's strength realm cultivator. However, with so many methods, killing you is still as easy as flipping his hand. Therefore, even if I attack you, the grand ancestor can say that it was him who did it. Heaven's strength realm against a mountain lord. Who can pick a heaven's strength realm cultivator? Old Demon Blood Sea shook his neck and sneered. Black Snake, if you know what's good for you, then come with me obediently. Otherwise, you will suffer some pain for no reason. I'll say the same thing again. The northern frontier is this king's territory. If your grand ancestor wants to see this king, then tell him to come to the northern frontier king's residence to pay him a visit. This king has a lot of things on hand, so he has no time to mess around with you. Lin Yuan's expression did not change. He moved around Old Demon Blood Sea and headed in the direction of Shunning City again. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Old Demon Blood Sea's expression changed. With a wave of his right hand, a huge hand completely made of blood condensed out of thin air. Then, it directly grabbed at Lin Yuan, who was flying. It seemed that he really intended to break the unspoken rule and deal with Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan, who was flying, turned his head with a mocking look in his eyes. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.